Welcome back to another FPL Deadline stream, this time at a Double Gameweek 36. I've got 3 transfers at my disposal, and the triple captain is active on Erling Haaland. That was the plan from the beginning of the season, really. Whenever Man City had this double in the second half of the campaign, that was my plan to triple captain Erling Haaland, and nothing has changed on that front. So there is definitely room for Crystal Palace assets, despite the fact that they'll heavily rotate, in my opinion, over this double game week, or at least you can't really bank on the likes of Ismail Assar and Mateta starting both, to be honest with you. I think they'll only start one of these matches, and it could be the more difficult fixture against Manchester City. I'll go through my predicted lineups later in this podcast. The same goes for the clean sheet odds, the top 10 captains, and everything you need to know in a one-stop shop and an ultimate guide for the upcoming deadline. And Arsenal players is going to be the other priority, particularly for Game Week 37 when they host Burnley at home. And West Ham away isn't a great fixture, in my opinion. I know they just lost 3-0 to Brentford, but I think Arsenal will have a really tough battle on Sunday. So that's going to be a very difficult one to sort of invest in. But Saka, Gyökeres, and definitely Raya, Gabriel, and other Arsenal defenders will be at the very top of the agenda. And that's the sort of compromise I'm looking to make. Even Semenyo to Cherki could be done from my perspective because it gives me enough funds to buy Gabriel, a Palace defender, and also Bukayo Saka for Cole Palmer. So that's why that could be a late change to my transfer plans that you're going to see in full force when it comes to this deadline stream today. So be sure to drop a like on the stream, subscribe to the channel as we close in on 39,000. It might even be possible to reach that goal by the end of today, and it would be much appreciated because by the end of the campaign, we'll certainly hit that milestone and then push towards 40k on YouTube. Check all the links in the description. You know the drill by now. There's the FPL and FPL Challenge Leagues, Spotify, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and there's my Discord server, a great community to be a part of for both UCL Fantasy and FPL. And make sure to become a patron or channel member for likes to my videos, proud to power comments, amongst many other perks. I'm going to go straight into the first few questions, and the first one is by King XOX. I want to buy Szoboszlai in my team. Most of the team big matches this season, he gets a double-digit haul. Yeah, any attacking returns that he gets will put him in a great position to get bonus points. That's the good thing about Szoboszlai. He's actually in my FPL Challenge team. He was my Gibbs White replacement, so originally I wanted the Nottingham Forest talisman, but after that injury against Chelsea, I had to change things a little bit. Thank you, Izzy. Hopefully Arsenal can get the job done now. 1 game away from glory in the Champions League and 3 away in this competition. Is this the earliest you've ever streamed this season? No. We've done plenty of these, but most of them were in the first half of the season. We've had a lot of Friday deadlines and also late Saturday, if you will. Yeah, this is pretty much a normal deadline, so to speak. Yeah, Palace will rotate heavily. I'm very confident about that. In terms of the most likely to start both, Dean Henderson would be definitely top. Then you're looking at Munoz, Lacroix, possibly another defender like Canvot, but I don't think he's as secure as the other two I mentioned in defence, Lacroix and Daniel Munoz. With the others, it's a lottery. I think Sarr and Mateta will start 1 game, not both. Maybe Bino gets 2 starts, but he's not someone I'd invest in fantasy. Yeah, Brennan Johnson I think will get a start, but not across both games. So I think with Crystal Palace, it can be all over the place. Sam says 46 points ahead, Sanchez to Raya for 3 or Aronson plus Scott for 2 premium mids -4. Well, Sanchez might not even start. It could be Jorgensen. That's my prediction for the Chelsea lineup, and it's Liverpool anyway. I do prefer the 2 premium mids. Now, it does depend on which midfielders we're talking about, but I'm assuming one of them is Saka, who now has 10% ownership, but that looks really appealing to me. I might even suggest doing all 3 at once, or you go for Dean Henderson as your double gaming goalkeeper to sort of compensate for that hit. Now, it also depends on your backup goalkeeper. If you've got Darlow, I guess that's fine against Tottenham, although I don't expect Leeds to keep a clean sheet. But yeah, I'd be very mindful about that as well. I would be open, though, to taking a -8 hit and doing all 3 transfers. But yeah, hopefully that helps you, Sam. So, who would you start? You got Dubravka. Yeah, I think it's going to be what I suggested just now, the -8 hit, and go for all 3 at the same time. My triple captain active on Haaland. By the time you see this message, I'll be sleeping. No worries. All the best there, Baraf. Good luck. And thank you very much for the kind words, and good luck for the rest of the season. Yeah, this is the last month before the Premier League ends. Well, yeah, it's literally weeks away from ending. Yeah, 24th of May, so less than 3 weeks. Time flies, and well, the Premier League highlight of the season, hopefully it's yet to come for Arsenal, lifting the title. That's pretty much what I'm hoping for. Up until now, I'd say certain games like the 4-1 against Tottenham, home and away, would be up there. I mean, there have been quite a lot of great moments for Arsenal. They've won over 40 games this season, but it's about getting those two big trophies home. Hi, Dylan. Who should I get for Gordon? Already have Cherki, Bruno, and Saka. I wouldn't mind Pascal Gross, who went up in price 2 days ago to 5.6 million. I think he offers great value, so that's something I would consider in your situation there. Otherwise, it's probably a Palace midfielder, but as I mentioned before, it's just not a guarantee that Ismaila starts both games, really. But I think he's my favourite Palace midfielder and maybe attacker alongside Jean-Philippe Mateta, who I think could do really well this week, even with limited minutes. But I think we're quite limited in terms of the midfield, actually. So you've already got 3 of the best options. Apart from that, I think Pascal Gross would stand out as a budget enabler. Maybe Dewsbury Hall, although I do prefer him for Gameweek 37 against Sunderland, and it's really a way of funding other moves when you're buying an enabler like that. So yeah, I'd be quite open-minded about this position, but I think I'd go to either Ismaila Sarr or Pascal Gross in your situation. Akil says start 2 of Bowen, Thiago, Tavernier, Hill, Garner. It's always difficult benching a player like Bowen or Thiago, but I think one of them will blank. I mean, they are facing the best teams in the country, so yeah, it's a difficult one, but I would probably bench Thiago, and I really hope I'm wrong and he ends up hauling, but I think I'd bench Thiago there. You got Garner as well. That's a really difficult one because Garner even recently has dropped off a bit when it comes to output and defensive contributions, but yeah, I think knowing the context of your squad is quite helpful. You've got double Arsenal defense, so I mean, on paper, I think benching Bowen makes sense. It's difficult to really go in that direction. I would probably bench Garner and Bowen then. I think what swings it for me is the fact that you've got double Arsenal defence. But Bowen has a really good record against Arsenal, and I hope it doesn't continue tomorrow. Yeah, I think it's a massive game on both ends of the table. I've said this for a while now, and Arsenal, I mean, every game is important. They can't take anyone lightly, but if they beat West Ham, they are very close to the title. And they'll have to beat Burnley afterwards, although that's never a guarantee. And then, yeah, Crystal Palace might rotate heavily for the last game. So West Ham is definitely the one for Arsenal that could be make or break. Dewsbury Hall, Hinshelwood, or Rayan? I prefer Dewsbury Hall overall when it comes to having a budget midfielder from now until the end of the season, but there's not much in it. Welcome, Awali. Always a pleasure. Yeah, Sanchez won't play. I mean, Jorgensen will start for Chelsea, and obviously there was that collision with Morgan Gibbs-White, who might not even play again this season, by the way, which is a shame. I wanted to buy him. He's been brilliant for Nottingham Forest. Hey, Dylan, good morning. Best in Boomer and Bone replacement. I have 2 free transfers. Well, if you really want to target this double game week, I think Mateta could be worth a punt, but you're looking at 1 start and probably between 60, 80 minutes, and then a cameo off the bench. So around 100 minutes overall, maybe a bit more than that, but yeah, it's not ideal. I like Bone for the last 2 game weeks, but I get why people are looking to sell now. Igor Thiago's poor fixtures. Joao Pedro looks better for game week 37. I think that's the case for a lot of strikers, so to be honest with you, I'd buy Gyökeres potentially in the forward line, and that's mainly for the Burnley fixture more so than West Ham. So I wouldn't mind keeping Bowen. That's the thing, though. If you keep Bowen now, you keep him for Newcastle and Leeds. But I think in terms of timing, buying Gyökeres in 37 looks the most appealing for you. And as for Mbumo, well, depends on your sort of structure and situation. But if you've got a Man City spot available, I'd definitely buy Cherki. I know people are quite interested in Doku as a differential. I'm not completely against that, but I just don't really trust his goal-scoring ability. So yeah, apart from Cherki, you're looking at Bukayo Saka. But I'm not sure what money you have in the bank. So buying Gyökeres and Saka might not be feasible. You might also have double Arsenal defence anyway. But I would buy one of them. And let's say, for example, you go for Saka in the midfield, then up front, I'd probably just keep Bowen. I don't think you need to sell him. Thank you very much, Awali. As he says, subscribe to the channel and like. It costs nothing. And I appreciate the reminder as well. Bruno will tie the assist record this game week. I think he will, but I'm Kind of hoping he doesn't. A lot of set pieces, just saying. People call Arsenal set piece FC. Well, Bruno is set piece merchant. Yeah, Donnarumma, Gabriel, Senesi, Van Dijk, Van Heck, Bruno, Semenyo, Tavernier, DCL, Haaland, Welbeck. With Henderson, Scott, Strout, Gomez on the bench, what to do? Planning Virgil or Strout to Saliba? Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, you've got Donnarumma in place. It's not really worth changing that up, and Man City are top of the clean sheet odds, but I've been very consistent on this. I think the best way of covering Man City defensively is with O'Reilly, then Matheus Nunes and Mark Guehi. So I think with the context of your team, it makes sense to do Van Dijk to Saliba, actually, and keep Struijk as a budget option on your bench to facilitate other moves. You've also got Gomez in there. Scott went down in price overnight, and ultimately, I would invest more money in the midfield because you've got Bruno and Semenyo, but you've got 3 budget midfielders in there. So I'd be quite cautious about that. And this is where you can start taking money out of your defensive line and maybe the forwards and start reinvesting that. Well, to be fair, not even the forwards. You've got 2 budget options as well. But I would invest more money in the midfield, and that's where Saka could be really enticing for you. But I think Van Dijk to Saliba is better than selling Struijk. Best Gibbs White replacement in your opinion? Apart from Cherki, I'm looking at Saka really, but it all depends on your budget, and that might not be applicable to you because you've got Triple City, or you might even not have enough money for Saka. So it depends a lot on the context. At a similar price tag, there aren't many midfielders I like. I mean, Szoboszlai is okay for the last 3 game weeks. He's currently in my FPL challenge team, but would I buy him in FPL right now? I'm not so sure about that. There's also the possibility of a Palace midfielder like Sarr. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think the minutes are great, but Sarr can still get a return off the bench, and with so-called limited minutes, considering it's a double game week. But that's probably my advice to you. One of Saka, possibly Szoboszlai or Ismaila Sarr, but Cherki would definitely be ideal. Chelsea likely to be the next Spurs in the upcoming season if they keep up their performances. Well, I mean, Chelsea have been awful for a while now. I mean, back in November, they were looking quite competitive. Maresca had the usual sort of December downfall and, yeah, got sacked in January or parted ways. Very strange situation there. And it was a decent start under Liam Rosenior, but afterwards it went downhill. To be sure, will Man City play in 37 or is it blank? There are no blank game weeks left. Man City will play Bournemouth in 37. It's covered in all of my videos. Lewis says, hey Dylan, which would you start from Hill, Chow or Joachim Andersen? It's a very close one. I'm not expecting a clean sheet from any of those teams, but probably Hill. I think is the most likely. And he can also get DEFCON, so he's my preference. I benched him last week, by the way, but the less said about that, the better. Hey Dylan, should I get Saka or Bruno for Palmer? I still prefer Bruno, especially this week, but if you can find a way to buy both of them, that would be great. The thing is, you've already got Gyökeres, which, I'll be honest with you, I like having double Arsenal attack for the Burnley game on paper, but not necessarily for West Ham away. So go for Bruno Fernandes. It is the template pick, and of course, in situations where you're chasing, it makes sense to go for a Saka, and you can captain him in 37, so that's a very differential play. But I still think Bruno Fernandes is the better option, especially with you investing in the Arsenal attack already. Who would you start from, Thiago or Joao Pedro? That's a very close call, but I would lean towards Joao Pedro. Never usually awake for these. 4:30 AM here. I don't play FPL, but have a good match day. Well, I appreciate you tuning in. I mean, that's very late. I was struggling to get up at 8 in the morning here after a long night yesterday. So, yeah, I appreciate everyone who tunes in from all over the world, and hopefully you enjoy the use of your fantasy content as well. Hi, Dylan. I want to replace Semenyo for Cherki. I don't necessarily want to do that myself, by the way, but I might end up pulling the trigger just to give me extra funds, so it's not really a bad transfer. Thiago for Gyökeres, or should I keep Thiago and replace Palmer for Saka? I'll be honest, I think Palmer to Saka is a better move. Thiago could do something against City, and even in the difficult games afterwards, I still think Thiago's decent, but yeah, the fixtures are certainly against Brentford. They're near the bottom of the FDR, but they are making a late push for the Champions League spots, and yeah, interesting times are ahead, but I'd rather buy Saka. Dubravka or Rose? Not a big fan of either this week, and Sunderland have fallen off a little bit defensively for a while now. close call, but probably Dubravka. I don't expect any of them to keep a clean sheet, so it's down to saves, a penalty save, or something like that. João Pedro to Gyökeres and Struck to Canva. Yeah, it looks good to me. I don't think Canva is nailed on to start both in the double. We could see Chadi Riyad get a nod, for example. So yeah, I like Canva as a differential. Defensive contributions as well. And to be fair, in the Premier League, he has started 8 consecutive games. Even in the Conference League against Shakhtar, he also started. So he is part of the first choice setup at Crystal Palace now. But I think Lacroix is a little bit safer in general. But yeah, Gyökeres looks good, especially for Game Week 37. Not necessarily for this weekend. I think West Ham Arsenal could be very cagey, and that's going to be a decider at both ends of the table. Rice or Gross? Probably Gross. I think Rice could end the season very strongly, and he's facing his former club tomorrow, but I think Gross is the better FPL option right now. Yeah, you're going to see that reflected in my predicted lineups podcast. Smith should start right back now for Bournemouth. Vinny Rotten says, hey Dylan, I have Haaland and Cherky, now thinking between O'Reilly and Semenyo. I'd rather go for O'Reilly, and it's also a way of covering that Man City defence. I've always said this, for me the best structure for the Citizens is one defender, with O'Reilly being my preference, one midfielder and an attacker. Semenyo has blanked in 5 consecutive games. I still think he can come good, and it would not surprise me if me, you, and many others sell Semenyo and he ends up hauling. That's the way FPL can be sometimes, but the main reason why I would do that in the first place is just to give me more funds, flexibility, to buy Saka, Gabriel, and maybe a third Arsenal player for Game Week 37. But yeah, I think Semenyo is still good, to be fair, and going for that sort of structure means you're going for something different in terms of triple City attack, when most are going to be having 1 or 2 defenders. So I think both are viable, but I'd rather go for O'Reilly, as I said before. Should I do Palmer to Saka for a -4? I'd be tempted, but it also depends on your squad. So do you have someone who can come in? I mean, you can always start Palmer against Liverpool away, but his form has been atrocious for a while now. I would buy Saka for Game Week 37, just to be very clear. But in terms of this West Ham game, is it worth a -4 hit? That's where the doubt enters my mind, because I've said this before. I think West Ham Arsenal could be very low scoring and cagey. I would probably say go for it, especially if you can also buy Palace players. So you're getting some doublers for 36, especially in that defensive line. And you can also then get a second or third Arsenal player for 37. In that case, I think the -4 here is justified here. Mukiele for Van Heck, Wilson for Cherky, João Pedro for Welbeck for a -8 to play bench boost. Well, the bench boost, I think the sooner you play that chip, the better. So I do agree with that sort of sentiment. Taking a -8 hit, the only thing I'd ask you is, how does your team look like in 37? Could you not bench boost there without taking several hits to achieve that? If that's the case, then I'd probably hold off and just do it in 37, but definitely try to avoid using it in 38, where we could see even more rotation and a lot of unpredictable lineups and stuff like that. So yeah, getting out of the way sooner is definitely for the better, and I like the transfers in particular. So buying Cherky there makes sense. I think that already could justify the -8. Then buying 2 Brighton players. They're facing Leeds away in 37, Wolves at home this week. So from that perspective, I'm on board. I think go for it, but I don't know the context of the rest of your squad. And do you have Palace or City spots available? Because if that's the case, I'd prioritise them over Brighton. So maybe instead of Van Heck, consider going for Lacroix. That's just one sort of alternative for you to consider. Thank you very much. What's my main man, Dylan, doing? AK the Reaper. What's that about? I didn't even read out the other thing he said. So what's he doing with his team tonight? Well, it's not fully logged in, but I've got 3 transfers. The plan is to use all of them. One change from my team selection video is to potentially sell Semenyo to Cherky, and that allows me to then get Gabriel, potentially a Palace defender, and Saka. And then for 37, I can buy either Raya or Saliba to double up on the Arsenal defence and triple up overall. So that's my current strategy, maybe to deviate away from triple Palace and just have one option, and that would be enough, because I don't expect anything against Man City, and even a clean sheet against Everton isn't guaranteed. Hey Dylan, just got up like 2 hours ago and in a great mood about this double game week. I'm glad to hear it, and yeah, same here. I woke up actually 2 hours ago as well, and yeah, it's way too early for me. I'm more of a nocturnal person, but yeah, all the best for this double game week, and hopefully we get the green arrows. Arsenal win, but that's a selfish interest of mine. Will Watkins start? I've had a few concerns about this one. I think there is a possibility Abraham gets the nod, but you're going to see in my predicted lineups, I do lean towards Watkins leading the line for Aston Villa. So the answer would be yes, but it's not set in stone. Yeah, Sanchez is out. I think selling into Raya makes sense. I mean, yeah, surely if you're selling Sanchez to Raya, you're going to start him with Dubravka. So I don't think that requires an explanation there. Yeah, today AM is so early. It's been a while, but we've had this before. I mean, this is usually the norm, so to speak. I think maybe the reason why people from Asia and Africa are asking, is this like the earliest we've done it, is because, well, earlier this season, the clocks were different, at least, well, in the sort of October to March period in the UK. So maybe that's why people have been asking that. But yeah, it is quite early, even for me. And I'm, well, it's 9:30 AM. I mean, that's fine, but just waking up earlier is a bit crazy. Worth going for Henderson in goal for the double gameweek? I think so. I don't think a clean sheet is guaranteed, though, against Everton and Man City, but save points is certainly feasible. And I think Henderson will get you 4 or 5 points minimum, which for a goalkeeper is fine. Obviously, for a double gameweek, you want more. The best goalkeeper is David Raya. I've said this very consistently all season. I think Dean Henderson right now is the second best goalkeeper to get, and that's purely because of the double. I think for Brentford away and Arsenal at home, he's arguably benchable for both fixtures. Play DCL or Tavernier, or bench both and buy Lacroix. I'd buy Lacroix in that case. I'm in a similar boat, and I'm not a big fan of my forward line. Thank you, Bajabi. I'll get Sak and Gabriel anyhow for 37. Yeah, you don't need to get them this week. I think 37 is the priority. I kind of suffered a bit FPL-wise by not having any Arsenal against Fulham. I'm not making that mistake against Burnley, that's for sure. With the World Cup season will be very busy, it's very likely FPL admins will release the game late. Yeah, that's a good point. Obviously, we didn't see this in 2022 because the World Cup was in November to December. But yeah, usually when there's a international tournament like the Euros, they do release the game a little bit later, which, well, I'm not going to say it's good news for me, but if I am covering the World Cup and it seems like a lot of people want to see it, then yeah, it gives me a bit of time just to disconnect a little bit and have everything ready for next season. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the challenge. Thanks, Dylan, and good luck this week. Likewise, Akil, thank you very much. Do you like DCL to Richarlison? No, to be honest with you. Richarlison did score in the last game, and considering Tottenham's fixtures, I think it's not a bad punt to have a Spurs attacker, but I don't really see it as a massive upgrade. I'd rather buy Gyökeres. I know he's a different stratosphere when it comes to price, but yeah, Bowen I still think is one of the best forwards, more so for the last 2 game weeks. I'm not sure if I'd go for Richarlison. The thing is, though, at this stage of the season, I think, especially if you're chasing, going for differentials is fine. You have to back your gut, and if I'm saying no to a certain low-owned pick, but you're feeling bullish, you have to go for it, in my opinion. But it's just from my perspective, I'm not confident in the player or his goal-scoring ability. Cole Palmer to Saka for a free transfer. Is that Cole Palmer's son? Nice one. Yeah, I would do that, and I might end up doing the exact same thing. I think it's a very popular transfer this week. It also gives extra funds to get other moves in place. Palace players, Gabriel, or an Arsenal player like Gyökeres, or maybe that Saliba Raya pick. So I think it makes a lot of sense. Who should I remove for Saka? Gross, Tavernier, or Rayan? I'd rather sell Rayan, even though I think he starts alongside Tavernier. Play DCL or Tavernier. Well, I think you asked something later on, but yeah, from these two, probably Tavernier. You can see it in my bench order as well. Start Cash and Enzo Fernandez or Thiago and Bowen. I would start Cash and then one of the attackers, as in Thiago or Bowen. I'd bench Enzo Fernandez. Will FPL keep the double chips next season? I think so. That's something we can discuss after the end of the campaign. I want to see what people think in general, but my guess would be yes. Because for casuals as well, who they want to appeal to, I think it just keeps them engaged. So, yeah, it just gives them like an opportunity to claw up the gap of the mini league leaders, or to, well, I'm not sure casuals will care that much about rank. I think mini leagues are the most important for a lot of people, but yeah, I think it just gives them an incentive to keep playing. You think the captaincy choice between Haaland or Riley will decide a lot? Well, it could do. I personally think Haaland is the best captain. That's why I'm going for him. Not just because everyone else is doing it, I'm scared. I genuinely think Haaland will score the most points this week, but I could be wrong. O'Reilly is second in my captaincy list. You're going to see the full top 10 later on, and it was covered in my team selection podcast yesterday, but it could. I think captaincy is so important at this stage of the season because we've only got 3 game weeks left, and I've got the triple captaincy, for example, so Haaland hauling is good for my FPL team, but maybe not for my mental health when it comes to the Arsenal-Man City title race, but let's wait and see what happens. Do you think Rangers will start? I wouldn't fully discount it, but I don't think so. Thank you for the super chat. Bench boost with 1 free transfer. Which of Mukiele to Canva, Garner to Gross, Van Dijk to Lacroix/Munoz, Wilson to Sarr? Feel like it's Wilson, but he's got Wolves next week. Cheers. Well, if I knew for sure that Sarr would start both games against Everton and Man City, then yes. You're going to see it in my predicted lineup soon, and this might help you with your final decision, but I think Sarr will start against City and not against Everton, which is the better fixture on paper. Out of all the transfers you've mentioned, I mean, I like all of them, to be honest, but I would probably do Van Dijk to Lacroix/Munoz. And I wouldn't even discount taking a -4, but yeah, it does seem like a bit overkill and not necessary. I like Gross a lot, but would I take a hit to sell Garner for him? Probably not. I think with Canva, you could make that sort of case because I think he'll start both matches in 36, although I can't guarantee it for you. And he's very good for DEFCON, just like Lacroix. And Munoz actually scored in the reverse fixture against Everton in a 2-1 defeat. So, yeah, with him, you've got that sort of excitement of owning him because of the goals and assist potential. He's a very unique player in terms of defenders with FPL. So, they're all viable options, but I would lean towards selling Van Dijk to a Palace defender and possibly a hit to sell Mukiele to Canva. And what you could then do, if you have enough funds, is to sell one of Lacroix Munoz to an Arsenal option in 37. I mean, you are bench boosting this week, so a -4, given the context, I think would look pretty decent. What happened to John Stones? Has he quit football? He's just getting injured a lot, unfortunately. Even during his sort of prime, like in the treble-winning season, he was quality, but he got a lot of injuries there as well. So, yeah, unfortunately, he just can't stay fit. But Gvardiol and Ruben Dias are back in training for City, and Rodri is doing partial training, and Pep Guardiola is hopeful that he plays again this season, and that's massive as well, by the way. I think if Rodri played against Everton, for example, I think City win that game. Can you work with this, Dylan, and give it a rank from 0 to 10? I don't think I'm going to give it 0. So no O'Reilly, fair enough. Welbeck or Watkins? Welbeck or Watkins? I still think Watkins, but that guy has burned me so many times. If I say he's going to do well, he's going to do crap. If I say he's going to do crap, he's going to get 16 points. So I just can't trust the guy. But probably Watkins. The rest looks pretty good. In terms of like what to suggest, I'm quite happy with your setup. Yeah. I mean, you've got Doku and Cherki. So you've gone for the triple City attack, something a bit different. I'm not a massive fan of Doku. He played brilliantly against Everton, no denying that. And also Southampton, so his form is really good. But in terms of FPL, I don't trust him to get goal contributions consistently, especially goal scoring. But yeah, overall, 8, 8.5, possibly. I mean, you got Munoz for the double. I wouldn't be in like a rush to get double, triple Palace. I don't think it's necessary. But maybe 2's the sweet spot for me. And yeah, you got Senesi, who's one of the best defenders in the game. I think Gabriel's number 1. Raya and goal the same. Van Hecke looks good this week against Wolves, but Brighton are a bit of an odd team because against the best teams in the country, they look fantastic at times. And then against the sort of teams you expect them to beat, they can be left wanting at times. But yeah, really happy with that. And I think long term, for 37 and 38 anyway, I think someone like Gyökeres or Bowen would be very appealing up front for you. But yeah, good team. Rajat says, I had 5 free transfers, made 3. Palmer to Saka, Pedro to Gyökeres, and Senesi to Lacroix. My starting 11 is Verbruggen, Gabriel, Lacroix, O'Reilly, Van Hecke, Bruno Fernandes, Saka, Gross, Cherki, Haaland triple captain, and Gyökeres. Very solid. As I said before, I'm not a massive fan of double Arsenal attack against West Ham, and possibly against Crystal Palace as well. What I do like them for, though, is Burnley. So you've got them in place for 37 already. That's great. You've got Gabriel as well. I want to get to triple Arsenal very soon, but I'm not in a rush to do it this weekend, to be fair. But it's looking solid. You've also got Lacroix. triple City. So Haaland, Cherky, and O'Reilly. Yeah, triple captain active, so no need to use all 5 free transfers in my opinion. And it's very good to be in that sort of position where you have multiple transfers at your disposal for 37 and 38. That's very important. Start Bowen or Garner? I would start Bowen if you don't have double Arsenal defence in your starting 11. Having all of them at the same time almost guarantees a blank. I mean, Bowen is the most likely from forwards to get DEFCON, but that's not what you sign him up for, is it? So, yeah, it's a good question, but I would lean towards Bowen if I'm just thinking about the sort of 2 picks in isolation and not about, oh, are you starting Ryan, Gabriel, and this and that? I predict there will be Asian transfer chip, same as AFCON transfers. I wouldn't rule it out, but the reception from the beginning wasn't great, and I personally don't think that will stay. That's just a gut feeling of mine. I have no inside information. It's just like a prediction, but I could be wrong. Saka and Krupi for Gordon and Joao Pedro for a -4. Yes, I would go for it. Now, Krupi should start 2 of the next 3 matches. One of them is against Man City, but I think Krupi could score in any of those fixtures. Yeah, 4:30 p.m. in Malaysia. Yeah, that's kind of normal for you. It's not too bad. Do you think Aston Villa will make top 4? They don't need to make top 4. It's all about top 5 for them to qualify for the Champions League. I think they will. So they might go strong against Burnley, secure that spot. Then there's less pressure for the Europa League final, which I think they'll win against Freiburg. And yeah, I think after that, they'll rotate heavily against Man City, unfortunately. But yeah, I think Aston Villa will finish 5th and win the Europa League. That's my prediction. World Cup season will be sleepy for me, time zone. It's going to be sleepy for a lot of us. I'm not going to lie to you. I think in the UK, some deadlines are going to be at midnight. I'm going to do more research on that, but that's one of my concerns in terms of covering the World Cup when it comes to deadline streams. With videos, it's not as bad. I can just do them whenever, at the normal times, if you will. But yeah, streams are a bit awkward. I did it for the Club World Cup, though, so if it's similar to that, then it's not a problem. I did one midnight stream, basically, which was one of the best we've ever done, I think. And yeah, the rest, well, at sort of more normal times. I think the World Cup is a bit different, though. Yeah, aka the Ripper. I'm not sure where that came from, but yeah. This can actually be like your nickname. Yeah, but I don't know what the context is. Like, why am I being called a Ripper? Maybe because I'm a terrible FPL manager, according to the people. Safir says, hey Dylan, good to see you. And I know you brought Cherky in. I might be joining you on that front, even though I've got Semenyo. Saka, Richarlison, Welbeck, and Hinshelwood can be great differentials. Agreed, except for Richarlison. And I'm not saying that out of bias. I'm just giving my honest opinion. When a Tottenham asset is good or looks enticing, I'll say it. I don't think Richarlison is that, but maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, I think Saka's been bought quite heavily this week. He's a very popular transfer. And for 37, well, you've seen nothing yet. He's going to be very popular indeed. You'd be reaping them green arrows, my brother. Yeah, not last week or the week before, but before that, yeah. Before Blank Gameweek 34, basically. And I'm going to stop saying that word. I just said it like 3 times in a sentence, but yeah. It's all about the last 3 Gameweeks now. Hopefully I can secure the green arrows, and you can too. Yeah, Haaland is triple captain. You can see it right now. The white logo with the captaincy. He is... I mean, there's nothing else really that compares to it. 37 and 38 single Gameweek fixtures. I've got the double for Man City now. I'm not going to overcomplicate it. And if Haaland blanks, I might still be happy, to be fair, because it could result in City dropping points. Dylan, who do you think will be relegated? I said this weeks ago when West Ham were looking good. I think West Ham will go down, but it can all change on Sunday. And that can also have massive repercussions for the title race. But I think West Ham go down and Tottenham stay up. Should I start Martinez or Verbruggen? It's a close one, but probably Verbruggen. Who should I start with my total players and which formation? Yeah, Raya, Van Heck, Gabriel, O'Reilly. Yeah, I don't like Scott and Aronson so much, so I'd possibly start Hill. Go for a 4-3-3. You said Welbeck twice, by the way, but yeah, if your other forward is competent, I would start him as well. Yeah, I'd bench Aronson and your other midfielder that you mentioned. FPL like to steal some of the chips from World Cup. Well, they've had the opportunity to do that for a while. The same goes for UCL Fantasy, so I wouldn't count on it. Semenyo to Turkey so I can do Pedro to Gyökeres, or should I consider transferring out Tavernier, Calvert-Lewin? No, I like that. But with Gyökeres, I've been very bullish on this and consistent. I think the best time to buy him is 37, not this week. Out Gordon, Virgil, Rayan, Thiago. In Saka, Bruno Lacroix, Guiu -4. Yeah, looks good. I get the Guiu one. It's just to fund the other moves. But yeah, I like every single one of the other transfers. And I think they're all upgrades, to be fair. So I'd go for it. Hi, Dylan. Left with wildcard and triple captain. And for wildcard, I'm going with Gyökeres and Richarlison. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people mention Richarlison. Maybe I'm missing a trick here, but I'm just not really feeling it with the Brazilian. What's the best Crystal Palace? If I had to pick two, Munoz and Lacroix. Now, Henderson would also be up there. He just guarantees you the 2 starts. But I like Lacroix for Defcon and Munoz for the sort of like wild card pick, if you will. He can do anything. Score, assist, get Defcon. In fact, against Everton, not only did he score last time he faced them, but he got like 16 defensive contributions. So I think Munoz could be a great choice here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put some polls out and also go through different stats and screens. Be sure to drop a like, by the way, and subscribe. And let's try to get to 39,000 subscribers today. It would be a brilliant way to start the weekend as we approach the end of the season. And if you want to see World Cup fantasy content, what better way to show it than by showing support to the channel? Liking, subscribing, hyping, joining the Discord server. And you know the drill by now. The hype button on YouTube. There are many different ways to interact with this community. And thank you to those that have done so already. The same goes for super chatters, patrons, and channel members. Click the join button on YouTube or go to patreon.com/FPL Dylan for many perks. That includes early access to my videos, and in hectic deadline streams like the UCL fantasy ones, you will always be prioritized and have your questions answered, guaranteed. So I'm going to put this poll out. Which of these players would you buy? And I'm keeping it fairly simple here. It's just one midfielder or the other. And let's put Sarr first and then put Saka afterwards. So there's no one else really that I'm looking at when it comes to midfielders. So let's see. I mean, Cherky could come in for Semenyo just to give me extra funds. Yeah, Cherky triple captain isn't bad. He's in my top 3 captaincy list. You're going to see that very soon, but I prefer Haaland and O'Reilly. Even though O'Reilly, Cherky's debatable, to be fair. I might even vice captain Cherky if I buy him in, but Haaland is definitely number 1 for me. There's no doubt. So Saka is winning, whoa, 100%. What the? Okay, it's surely not going to end at 100%, but that is ridiculous. Oh my god, that's one-sided. I might have to end it very soon. Stop the count. That is ridiculous. Wow. Okay, let's go to the FDR, the fixture difficulty rating, and there's only 3 game weeks left. We're so close until the end of the season. Man City are top because of their double against Crystal Palace and Brentford this week. Arsenal, Fulham, Crystal Palace and Brighton finished the top 5. And if we look near the bottom, there's Brentford, Bournemouth, West Ham, Chelsea, and Aston Villa. With predicted points, it is dominated by Man City players. Haaland, O'Reilly, Mark Guéhi, Cherky, and Antoine Semenyo. Doku, Gabriel, Kusanov, Matheus Nunes, and Saka. So a few Arsenal players in there, but the rest are all Man City. That will change a lot, by the way, as we approach Game Week 37, and we're going to see a lot of Arsenal players enter the mix, like Victor Gyökeres as well. I think he could be a great punt there. So this is a poll I put out on my channel. Which transfer do you prefer? I'll be making one of these, if not possibly several, in the deadline stream here. So Cucurella to Gabriel is number 1 with 40%. In second is Senesi to Lacroix with 33%. Cucurella to Munoz is third. Hill to Canvo is last, but some of these are interchangeable. So for example, I could sell Senesi to Canvo, or I could do something like Cucurella to another Palace defender, not just Munoz. So I'm quite open to buying one Palace defender and player overall alongside a Gabriel and also Bukayo Saka, who is one of my priorities in the midfield. When it comes to price changes, Gabriel, Gyökeres, Casemiro, Richarlison, Van Hecke, Krupi Jr., Mateta, and Hinshelwood could all rise tonight. In terms of price falls, not all of these will happen, but we could see a fair few of them drop in price. That includes Dango Ouattara, Enzo Fernandez, Van den Berg, Rodgers, Kevin Schade, Zubamendi, Luca, Iwobi, Strauch, Keane, Xavi Simons, and Estev. So what I've done here is a stats comparison of Lacroix and Daniel Munoz. And in terms of goal contributions, the Colombian is definitely in the lead with 7 for the season in 25 appearances, while Lacroix has 1 goal and 2 assists in 32 games. But in terms of shots, it's identical, but Munoz has almost double the amount on target. The same goes for one more shot inside the box, but it's very similar. The XG is also in Lacroix's favour, actually, this time round, but the XA is always going to be in Daniel Muñoz's court, with 5 big chances created and 20 key passes. Those stats are probably down from last season, though, and Muñoz isn't offering brilliant underlying numbers, but he does lead in most of these metrics. But when it comes to defensive contributions, Lacroix has 333 for the season. Daniel Muñoz is quite good on that metric, but nowhere near. So hopefully there's no audio issues. If there is, let me know and I'll sort that out as soon as possible, because I think it's like a cable issue. So let me know if the audio is fine or if there are any problems, and I can sort that out instantly. So thank you very much. So what I'm going to do next is go to the wildcard squad, which I think is now over budget for me personally. But going for Henderson, Canvot, Gabriel, O'Reilly, and Muñoz looks quite solid. I mean, this is one wildcard structure I talked about, by the way. There were several, and I did lean towards one where you only have 2 Crystal Palace defensive coverage, not a triple up. I think that's way too excessive. So one of the things we could do, for example, and by the way, this would give you Saka and Gyökeres simultaneously, which looks very appealing for Gameweek 37. The bench is fairly cheap. It's just enablers really to allow you to spend all your money into the starting 11. But something we could do here is double up on Arsenal defensively instead. So Raya instead of Dean Henderson. We could go for Mateta over Gyökeres. I mean, some would point towards Richarlison, which is fair enough. And you could have double Palace defense for now. And if you've got multiple free transfers at your disposal, you could then, well, you could sell Muñoz, you can sell Mateta very easily. And I would consider, if you've got the Arsenal spot available, getting Gyökeres up front or Jared Bowen for the last 2 game weeks of the season. But I think this looks like a pretty solid structure. And you've got plenty of flexibility. Obviously, with my budget, I wouldn't have enough to buy Bowen for Mateta. So that would require another downgrade. And that's where Muñoz could be sold. And in terms of defenders, I mean, there aren't many standout options, I guess. But I think you can find someone pretty decent for the last 2 game weeks of the season. And for some people, it'll be Saliba. Now, obviously, with my structure at the moment with Raya, Gabriel and Saka, it's not going to be feasible. You could even captain the Arsenal midfielder as well, by the way, but it's between him and Fernandes for 37. I'll talk more about that very soon. But yeah, I think Muñoz could also be sold here to fund other moves, and I think a lot of you will have enough in terms of team value to make this possible. Thank you, Paredes, for the super chat. Canvot versus Lacroix. I prefer Lacroix, to be fair, and I think he's a bit more likely to start. So Canva has started 8 consecutive games in the Premier League, even in the Conference League recently. But I think Lacroix just offers that certainty almost, that security. No Semenyo to Turkey if 4-point family and defender, 4 free transfers. I mean, in an ideal world, I'd get Lacroix and even do Semenyo to Turkey in your case there, Paredes. So let me know your thoughts. Who would you bench out? Van Dijk, João Pedro and Anderson? I'm not very bullish on Chelsea. Well, they've lost 6 consecutive games. I'm not bullish on them either. I think from those 3 players, I would bench, I think it's Elliot Anderson still. Mukiele to Lacroix, Tavernier to Sarr, or Thiago to Gyökeres. My favourite move is Mukiele to Lacroix. Start Kadioglu or transfer in Muñoz for benched Cucurella. I'd transfer in Muñoz. Yeah, that looks better. I'll get back to more questions very soon, by the way, but I'm going to highlight. I'm going to say something else. I don't know what I was going to say there. So, FPL Challenge. It is called the Playmaker this week. You get plus 10 points for an assist. I've gone for Dean Henderson, Gabriel, Fernandes, Szoboszlai, Gross, and Haaland. You can only pick 1 player per club. Otherwise, Cherki would definitely be in here. And maybe even the captain for FPL Challenge. But I've gone for Haaland there, taking the armband, and 3 midfielders. The original plan was to have Gibbs White over Szoboszlai, but things changed after Monday. So these are the graphics for the team selection video that I posted yesterday, and it gives you the context of my sort of plans to get triple Palace. But I am sort of counteracting that a little bit, I am considering something a little bit different because I just don't think a lot of these players will get the 2 starts that you want in a double game week to justify the transfers, especially with Arsenal facing Burnley at home in 37. That is the priority for me, even over Crystal Palace's double. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat. We can definitely discuss that further, but I think that's the best thing for me to do. And by doing something like Semenyo to Cherki, it gives me more funds to buy Saka for Palmer, whilst also getting Gabriel defensively and another upgrade in different positions. But Gabriel is certainly the top target defensively. Munoz and Lacroix would be the top Palace options overall, but I'm not discounting a cheaper option in Canvot, who has 4.5 million in terms of his price tag. Ismail Assar as well is my favourite Palace midfielder, and Mateta could be decent for the double, but I don't think those 2 attackers will get the minutes we really want. I think there'll be one benching in there, and it could be against Everton at home. So Verbruggen, Lacroix, Munoz, Van Hecke and O'Reilly looks solid, but it would use up all 3 of my transfers, and there's no Bukayo Saka or Arsenal players still. It would mean all my focus is on Crystal Palace, with Fernandes, Gross, Semenyo, Joao Pedro and Haaland, who would be my triple captain, and O'Reilly as the vice. On the bench, Darlow, Senesi, Tavernier and Calvert-Lewin. Nothing fancy, but I think ultimately at this point, I bench boosted fairly recently. I want to take money out of my bench and put it all into the starting 11 with one decent bench option just in case, but anything more is probably overkill. So next up is going to be my scoreline predictions. This will give you an insight into why I think certain things will happen, or why I personally think you should start this player over somebody else or captain someone like Erling Haaland. Liverpool 2, Chelsea 1 for the 12:30 kickoff. Brighton 3, Wolves 1. Fulham 2, Bournemouth 2. Sunderland 0, Man United 2. Man City 2, Brentford 0. Burnley 1, Aston Villa 2. A 1-1 draw between Crystal Palace and Everton. Nottingham Forest 1, Newcastle 0. West Ham 0, Arsenal 2. Tottenham 2, Leeds 1. And Man City 3, Crystal Palace 1. So I think City will win both games in the double and keep one clean sheet in the process. In terms of team weakness, I'm highlighting Crystal Palace, and this might be an obvious one, and maybe this is done to jinx them a little bit, but Erling Haaland is the top captaincy option and the best triple captain remaining from now until the end of the season. Next up are the clean sheet odds. Nothing has changed from what I talked about a couple of days ago in the best wildcard and free hit team video. Man City topped the charts with 66%, facing Brentford and Crystal Palace at home. Brighton are second, with Aston Villa and Arsenal in the top 4. Crystal Palace are 5th, despite having the double. And Tottenham Hotspur have jumped to 6th, because before Monday, I think they were down in 7th or 8th. But in bottom spot is Brentford with a 9% probability. All these stats are taken by the website fantasyfootballpundit.com, but the same can't be said for the top 10 captains. That is taken from my brain, and sometimes, as you well know, it does malfunction. So in top spot, Erling Haaland, very boring stuff. I might even get the Haaland mask out again if he hauls. O'Reilly, Cherki, Semenyo and Munoz complete my top 5. Bruno Fernandes is the only single game week player in this top 10 list. With Mateta, I put Doku now in 8th spot. 8th spot? I don't have a list, by the way. I don't know what happened to my brain. Like I said, it does malfunction. Munoz is 5th, like I said. Matheus Nunes is 9th. And Ismail Assar is 10th. But I think a lot of you would put Doku higher, especially over Bruno Fernandes this week, who I just wouldn't captain when you've got Haaland there, having 2 home fixtures, and I think he'll score 2 or 3 goals in this double game week. But let me know your thoughts. What would you change in this captaincy list? And would you include some Arsenal players in there, like Gabriel, Saka, maybe even Victor Gyökeres too? But before I go to your questions again, because I've answered a lot of them already, let's go for some predicted lineups. And this is where things get very interesting. I'm also going to show you how Man City and Palace will likely line up in both matches of the double game week. But with Arsenal, Raya, White, Saliba, Gabriel, and Piero Hincapié. My main concern here is left back. It could be Calafiori again. But Rice and Lewis Skelly in the midfield. Saka, Eze, Trossard, and Victor Gyökeres to lead the line. For Aston Villa, Emi Martinez, Cash, Konsa, Mings, and Maatsen. Bogard, Tielemans, Sancho, Barkley, Rodgers, and Ollie Watkins. Next up is Bournemouth with Petrovic, Smith, Hill, Senesi, Troffer, Scott, Adams, Rayan, Krupi Jr., Tavernier, and Evanilson. We saw a price drop overnight for Scott. He now costs 5 million. I said from day one, I just wouldn't go from an FPL. For Brentford, they might switch to a back five against Man City like they did back in October, with Kelleher, Coyote, Van den Berg, Collins, Adjer, Lewis Potter, Jensen, Yarmolick, Damsgaard, Thiago, and Kevin Schade, so Dango could be benched here. With Brighton, Verbruggen, Veltman, Van Heck, and it's between Boscagli and Dunk. I've leaned towards Dunk, who is now fully fit and available after that heavy loss against Newcastle. Kadioglu, Baliba, and Gross. Don't discount Ayari starting in the midfield either, with Minter, Hinshelwood, Mitoma, and Danny Welbeck, who went up in price overnight. With Burnley, another team that could play a back three, so we could see Dubravka, Humphreys, Ekdal and Estev, Ward-Prowse and Hannibal Miebri, Walker and Hartman, Chiwana, Anthony, and Fleming to lead the line. We're now on to Chelsea, with Jorgensen replacing the injured Sanchez. Reece James is back, and we could see him get a start, but I've gone for Gusto, Chalobah, and Levi Colwill, who is a massive boost there for the Blues, Cucurella, Andre Santos, Caicedo, Palmer, Enzo Fernandez, Joao Pedro, and Liam Delap. Next up is Crystal Palace, the first of two teams that are doubling in 36. So Henderson, Richards, Lacroix, and Canvot, Lerma and Hughes, Munoz and Mitchell, Brennan Johnson, Yeremi Pino, and Strand Larsen. So that means no Mateta or Ismail Assar, who will start, right? Yeah, I think I said that right. Sorry, my brain is all over the place right now. Like I said, it's too early for me. But I think they will start against Man City away. And if not, it's going to be sort of switched. Roles reversed here, and they get the nod against Everton, which is probably the fixture you want them to start in. So I've gone for the same back three, but don't discount the possibility of Chadi Riyad starting either over Chris Richards or Canvot. But I think that's where the central midfielders could change. And I think Munoz will start both games in the double. The same goes for Lacroix and Dean Henderson. I'm quite confident about that. Moving on to Everton, Pickford, O'Brien, Tarkovsky, Keane, and Mikalenko, Eric Bonham and Garner, Roll, Dewsbury Hall, Indai, and Tierno Barry, who scored a brace against Man City. With Fulham, Leno, Tete, Anderson, Bassi, and Robinson, Lukic and Sandenberg, Wilson, King, Chukwueze, and Raul Jimenez. We now have Leeds United, who have several injury problems. Okafor is out for the next two games, but Darlow, Rodon, Biol, and the doubtful Strauch should start, with Ampadu and Tanaka, Bogle and Justin as the wingbacks, Aronson, Stack, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. The Premier League champions, for a little while longer, are Liverpool, with Woodman, Jones, Konate, Van Dijk, and Kirkes, Gravenberch, McAllister, Frimpong, Szoboszlai, Wirtz, and Gakpo to start up front. With Manchester City, they have a fairly settled starting 11 with Donnarumma, Mateus Nunes, Kusanov, Mark Guehi, O'Reilly, Bernardo Silva, and Nico Gonzalez, Semenyo, Cherky, Doku, and Haaland. I think there'll be one or two changes for the second game though, and that's where we could see Aït-Nouri at left back and O'Reilly pushed into the midfield, or we just see Kovacic replacing Nico Gonzalez or something along those lines. Someone mentioned Rangers earlier, which isn't a bad shout, but I think either Kovacic or Aït-Nouri is more likely. With Manchester United, Lamens, Dalot, Maguire, Martinez, and Shaw, Casemiro, Mainu, Dorgu, Bruno Fernandes, Cunha, and Mbumo. There are doubts about Benjamin Sesko and whether he'll start, but only time will tell on that front. And we have Newcastle here with Pope, Trippier, Chow, Botman, Byrne, Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes, Willock, Murphy, Osula, and Joelinton. Nottingham Forest could see a few changes here once again. So Sells, Williams, Milenkovic, Morato, and also Nets, Bakwa, Yates, Anderson, Hutchinson, Igor Jesus, and Awani. So I think Chris Wood will be on the bench here. We are approaching the end of this segment with Sunderland up next. Roves, Gertrauda, Mukiele, Alderete, Renilo Mandava, Siddiqui, Xhaka, Trahum, Lefay, Talby, and Brobby would be the probable lineup. With Tottenham Hotspur, Kinski, Bedroborro, Danso, Van der Ven, Udogi, João Paulinho, and Bentancur, Colomwani, Gallagher, Tell, and Richarlison is proving fairly popular when it comes to the live chat and transfer activity in general. I still think West Ham will go for a stable 11, but after that 3-0 loss against Brentford, there is the possibility for a few changes ahead of their clash against Arsenal, with Hermanson, Walker-Peters, Mavropanos, Disasi, Diouf, Soucek, Fernandez, Bowen, Bablo, Somerville, and Dati Castellanos. The last team is Wolves with Bentley, Mosquera, Santiago Bueno and Totti Gomez, Andre and Joao Gomez with Pedro Lima and Hugo Bueno. I think Rodrigo Gomez could start in a front three with Mane and Armstrong. Another possibility is Rodrigo Gomez starting as a right wing back and then seeing Mane, Armstrong and Tolu as the front three. So that concludes an extensive predicted lineup segment. And I'm now back to my team, which looks awful for the time being, but I haven't used my free transfers, and the plan is to sell one of my Chelsea assets, especially Palmer, and Bukayo Saka could certainly enter the equation. So before I end this poll and start making some other ones and going for your questions, let's go for this super chat. Okay, so Sid says multiple questions. Saka or Gyökeres? Saka. Gross or Hinshelwood? Pascal Gross. Rodgers or Ollie Watkins? Probably Watkins, but I hate that guy. And do you think Richards, Canvot, Sarr start both games? Sarr, no, which you saw in my lineup section just now. Canvot, I'd lean towards yes, but it's not guaranteed. I mentioned the possibility of Chadi Riyad starting over Richards or Canvot. I think from those two, by the way, it's more likely Canvot starts the two matches over Richards. But the most likely are Henderson, Munoz, and Lacroix. I don't have a list, by the way. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Like I said, I'm very tired, so I do apologize for that. Which team you predict the lineup very close? Well, you saw it in the lineup section just now. The numbers on the top right are my correct scoreline predictions out of the possible amount I could have gotten correct. The reason why Man City and Palace have a lower number at the end is because they've played one game less, which is why they're doubling this week. But yeah, I think the best teams for me are Nottingham Forest, Everton, and Leeds. Crystal Palace are up there as well. So those four are the best teams I've predicted. The worst ones include Wolves, Chelsea, and Tottenham. So that's a little breakdown there for you. Yeah, I think Mukiele could play centre-back, and we'll see Gertruida at right-back, and then Trey Hume being pushed up further forward. That's my prediction. I could be wrong about that. And by the way, thank you to Sid. Let me know what you think on all of my responses to your questions. With the Zerbi, Richarlison looks promising. Yeah, maybe it's just the sort of just the player himself. Like what I've seen over the years, I don't really trust him. He might have a purple patch, and that's all you need for the remainder of the season. But I just don't really trust him, to be honest. That's just my genuine takeaway. But yeah, over the last two games, he's been decent. 2 goal contributions. You can't ask for too much more. But I'm not really feeling it. I'd rather have Gyökeres, Bowen, obviously Haaland, and a few other forwards before I even consider Richarlison. Who will score more goals? Villa away to Burnley or Brighton at home to Wolves? Well, in my scoreline predictions, I think I went for Brighton to score more. I'd have to double check that, but Brighton are slightly more likely. I think I went for 3-1 Brighton and 2-1 Villa. You never know what Villa you're going to get, to be fair. So that doesn't really help. So there are a lot of questions coming in, by the way. I appreciate it. I'm going to go right from the top to answer every single one of them. So yeah. Dylan, we're cooked, thanks. I'm not sure about that. Yeah. Calma. Hopefully Arsenal get the job done. And as for our FPL teams, well, who cares? Let's just have some fun. Good to see you as well, Pratik. Thank you very much. Do you think I should sell Morgan Gibbs-White? I don't think he'll start. Would I punt on Buendia? I mean, he was one of the heroes in the Europa League semi-final, but I wouldn't buy Buendia, to be fair. I think I'd rather get somebody else. So yeah, sell Gibbs-White, but I think punt on a different player. If you're feeling Buendia, though, go for it. His name literally means good day, so yeah, hopefully you have a good one here. Haaland will be the funniest thing this double gameweek when half of FPL managers triple captain him. Honestly, easy. If he blanks, I'll be a very happy man. If it means that Man City drop points, by the way. But yeah, I would take that. I'm just saying it right now. Haaland blanks, triple captain fail, but City drop points. Sign me up for that over Haaland scoring hat-tricks and City winning. And yeah, no, forget about that. Who would you bench out of Van Dijk, Joao Pedro and Anderson? I'm not bullish on Chelsea. Oh yeah, I covered this earlier. Hopefully, well, you can offer your thoughts on what I said. But yeah, starting both Van Dijk and Joao Pedro is a bit awkward, but I probably would do that and bench Anderson, even though he kind of offers that baseline of 4 points. So yeah, let's end this poll. Saka is the clear winner with almost 3/4 of the vote. Let's do another one. So which defender would you buy? Let's put Gabriel first. Let's put Munoz, Lacroix, and Canva. So yeah, feel free to vote in the poll as well. And the results will be very interesting to say the least. Would you remove Semenyo to Turkey to fund other moves? Or Taverner to a cheapie? I would sell Semenyo to Turkey to fund other moves. That's something I talked about in my transfer tips yesterday. And I still think Semenyo can come good. So I'm not saying he's a must sell. But yeah, to be honest with you, I think funding other moves and getting Turkey makes a lot of sense. That's what I'm looking to do at the moment. Best midfielder under 7 million, only for this game week. Well, Cherky would be the one, but apart from him, Pascal Gross would be up there. Interesting, Sisafir. Yeah, well, let's see if Mukiele does start centre-back. That's a possibility. I mean, he typically is a centre-back by trade, to be fair. Start Tavernier or Joao Pedro? I'd lean towards Joao Pedro. Any injuries that we don't know? Well, I highlighted a few of them, I guess, earlier in this stream and throughout my videos. But with the predicted lineups, yeah, I mean, there might be some things that stand out to you. I mentioned Sesko, who isn't guaranteed to start, but I think he'll be in the squad. But I think United might go for something a bit different, like Mbeumo up front again. Is moving from James Justin to Hill or Boscaglia a good move, or Justin better? I wouldn't say Justin's better, but it's not like a massive upgrade. It's not like you're going to a double game maker from Palace. Boscaglia against Wolves looks good, but there's no guarantee he starts. It could be Dunk instead. And in my predicted lineup section, I went for Dunk to start, which I could be wrong about. Welcome, Simeon. Good to see you. Start 2, Hill, Chow, and Lefay. I would bench Chow. Captain O'Reilly or Cherky? I'm tempted by Cherky, to be fair, but in my top 10 camps list, I went for O'Reilly second, Cherky third. I'm really conflicted about that one, but yeah, there's no doubt in my mind about number one. I think Erling Haaland is the best triple captaincy option left, but yeah, in terms of normal captain, O'Reilly or Cherky, it's a coin toss. I'd lean towards O'Reilly, but it's very close, fine margins. Good morning, Twisted Parky. First triple captain on Haaland banged. Yeah, same here. I forgot what it was against. I think it was Burnley. Yeah. Yeah, when he got 2 goals and an assist, or 1 goal and 2 assists. Yeah, wow, that's so long ago. Game week 6. But I wasted second triple captain on Gabriel double. Yeah, look, I'm an Arsenal fan, and I never went for that Gabriel triple captaincy. Declan Rice was a really good one, though, for those that went there. I think he got 13 to 14 points, but yeah, Gabriel was a bit disappointing. Gabriel Tarkovsky. Gabriel. I have Ryan, Gabriel versus Bowen. Yeah, that helps with the question. I probably would go for Garner then. The thing is, Bowen has a good record against Arsenal, so it is a differential play to start him this week. So let's go through the questions I haven't answered yet. So I think this one is new. Fair Mellow says, hello Dylan, my team now, Raya, Gabriel, Van Heck, O'Reilly, Richards, Rice, Bruno Fernandes, Rogers, Cherky, Welbeck and Haaland triple captain. On the bench, Darlow, Dewsbury Hall, Mukiele, Thiago. Only dilemma is to start Richards or Dewsbury Hall. Go for the double game maker, even if the double includes Man City, and there's no guarantee that Richards starts both games, but I'd go for Richards. If you don't have Haaland, can you recommend someone to either captain O'Reilly, Saka, or even the disappointing Watkins? You're not going to find me recommending captaining Watkins again. Not this season. So, yeah, O'Reilly would be the one for me. The Reds Class 84 says, good morning, Dylan. Likewise, have a good one. Need help again. Have triple City and triple captain on Haaland. 2 free transfers. What's a must-have Palace asset? Not sure if any of them are must-haves, but one of Munoz or Lacroix would be my recommendation. Maybe buy both of them if you can. That looks quite appealing for this week, but beyond Game Week 36, I think they're benchable and sellable for the last 2 Game Weeks of the season. Thank you very much, and I hope you get a green arrow too. Is moving from James Justin covered? Hello, Sir Dylan. Sir, thank you very much. Would you waste the transfer of Semenyo to Cherky or nah? Love from Australia. Wow, yeah. Another time zone covered. I wouldn't call it wasting a transfer, but as I mentioned today and also my transfer tips video, I think the best thing with the Semenyo-Cherki debate is if you can upgrade another position with the extra funds, I'd go for it and buy Cherki. So, for example, if it allows you to then buy Gabriel in the back line and also getting Saka for Palmer simultaneously, that's where I would recommend buying Cherki. And that's the reason why I might go for it in the end. Saka and Creepy for Gordon and Joao Pedro for a -4. Yeah, I covered this earlier. The answer is yes. Lesson for next season, don't buy Watkins in Game Week 1. He's never scored or assisted in Game Week 1 in his career. There's always a first time for everything. I think I've started quite a few of the last seasons with Watkins, and he's always let me down. So, yeah, it's a good stat there. Hey, Dylan, bench 3 out of Bowen, Thiago, Chow, Anderson, Hill, Virgil. I would bench Chow, probably Van Dijk, and if you've got double Arsenal defence, I'd bench Bowen. Good record against Arsenal, though. Long may it not continue. To differentiate from above, who to buy in place of Lacroix and Saka, Munoz, Canva, and Gyökeres Eze. I'd buy Munoz and Gyökeres. 60k rank, target is to half the rank and finish under 25k. Yeah, that'd be, well, a great way to end the season, and you're already in a strong position, so all the best there. Bowen to Welbeck for a -4, worth it? No, I wouldn't do that. I think Welbeck, over the next 3 game weeks overall, isn't as good as Bowen. Start one of DCL, Wilson, Dewsbury Hall. Tough one. I think Wilson might be the preference here. Yeah, it's a close call. Yeah, I think I'd go for Harry Wilson. Williams or Van Dijk to O'Reilly. Depends on your budget, but I think selling Van Dijk would probably open up more doors, so you can double up on Arsenal defensively, maybe even get a Palace defender as well now. So yeah, probably selling Van Dijk instead. I just hope Haaland won't disappoint us, because I am this close to triple captaining either Saka or O'Reilly. Well, as I've said before, I honestly wouldn't mind if Haaland blanks, but he will be my triple captain. But yeah, I would sell Gibbs White. I just don't think he'll start this weekend. I mean, Vitor Pereira sort of alluded to him not starting again this season. He was in the squad in the Europa League and he wanted to come on, but yeah, it was a kind of nasty injury he got against Chelsea. As for Calvert-Lewin, I don't think he's a must-sell, but there are better forwards. Even Richarlison, I think, would be better than Calvert-Lewin, I think, over the next 3, to be fair. Nico Williams or Van Dijk covered. Hey, Dylan, would you do Semenyo to Cherki so I can fund Gabriel next week? Yeah, I would, which was also talked about earlier today. Pedro to Igor, then get the money to buy Bruno Fernandes. I wouldn't buy Igor Thiago now, though, when he's facing Man City away. So I'm not sure about that. Yeah, buying Bruno Fernandes makes a lot of sense, so if that helps you achieve it, then fair enough, but I'm not sure about Igor Thiago now. Sarr is the 6th most bought-in player this double game week. Highest transferred Crystal Palace player besides being a risk. He can still do something despite the minutes being all over the place, so I'm not fully against that move. I might still go for it myself, but the problem with me buying Ismaila Sarr is it makes it difficult for me to get Saka and Gabriel for game week 37, and I might want more afterwards. So let's actually play around with these transfers a little bit. So let's get Cucurella out for Munoz. And yeah, Palmer is definitely out. So if I went for Saka here, I would have 0.7 in the bank. So I could afford Hill to Canva or Senesi to Lacroix. That leaves me with 0.6 in the bank. The problem is, if I want Gabriel for game week 37, it's just not really an option for me. And I definitely would want probably 2 Arsenal defensive coverage for 37. So that's why I am looking at something a little bit different here. Let's go to FPL.team to visualize future game weeks and talk about this in more detail. So in terms of my team selection plans, this is the Crystal Palace route, just going all in on them. But then for 37, to get Gabriel and Saka, I'd have to take a hit. which I'm not completely against, by the way. I mean, that isn't too shabby. But let's compare that to this. So, Cucurella out. No problems with that whatsoever. Let's go to Lacroix to be a bit conservative in terms of money. So then Lacroix in for Calvert-Lewin, most likely. Let's do Palmer to Saka again. Then 1.4 in the bank. And I could still use my last free transfer as well, by the way. But yeah, even with this, I'm not able to afford it unless I do Canvo instead of Lacroix. And then Senesi to Gabriel. I have the exact money to do this. And then for 37, I mean, to be fair, I just can't get the other Arsenal defender without taking a hit anyway. And I'm looking at the rest. That's why Semenyo to Cherki is quite appealing to me. Apologies for that, didn't mean to do it. But yeah, let's undo some of these transfers and start again. Let's reset the game week. Okay, so Semenyo to Cherki. This is why it looks really appealing to me. Gives me 1.6 in the bank. Then I can do Cucurella to Gabriel now if I wanted to. But it's not really like a must for me right now. Then I can do Palmer to Saka. And I've got 2.1 in the bank. So that's all free transfers being used. And I'd probably go for something like this. Calvert-Lewin last on the bench is definitely debatable. Maybe that's a mistake on my part, but yeah, 2.1 in the bank. I've got Saka in place. I've only got one Palace player, triple City. But then for 37, well, I'd have to make the move very early, by the way. I'd have to basically make it tonight to not be priced out, but I could do Senesi to Gabriel Magalhaes. And then it's not too bad. I mean, I've got Munoz there away to Brentford. I mean, it's not great. If we compare that to this, I mean, it's very similar. I have Lacroix or Sarr starting against Brentford away. Yeah, to be honest, though, I think what I'll probably end up doing is going for this option. So buying Sarr, Munoz and Lacroix, tripling up on Liverpool on Crystal Palace and Man City, and then taking a hit to buy Gabriel and Saka next week. I think that's what I'll probably end up doing. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat, what you prefer. Obviously, with the second route, no hits involved. But, yeah, only one Palace player for the double. So, yeah, that's kind of what it comes down to. The expected points, I mean, there's a massive difference in 36, by the way. The Palace route gives me way more points. But to be fair, though, an idiot, I haven't triple Captain Haaland here, so that will help. Let's see. So, the expected points, 82.3, still significant. 91.2 versus 82.3. And if I look to 37, 51.6 expected points. This has 52.4, but there is a -4 hit also in play. But yeah, I definitely want Gabriel and Saka for that. And I don't even have that third Arsenal option, which isn't really feasible no matter what I do, unless I take another hit. But yeah. Either way, Semenyo would be sold, but it might be a case of doing it for Saka next week instead of now. So that's where everything comes into play. So let me know your thoughts in the live chat. What do you prefer? And I think there's another super chat in the building, which I'm going to go through next. Thank you very much to Itamlad, Verbruggen, Dubravka, Hill, Gabriel, Justin, Van Heck, Nico Riley. I don't know why I keep thinking he's Lando Norris. It's because I watched too much F1 recently. Gross, Bruno Fernandes, Semenyo, Crystal Palace, Ampadu, DCL, Haaland, Joao Pedro, 4 free transfers and 0 in the bank. Semenyo to Cherki, 1 else. Thanks. Yeah, I think Semenyo to Cherki looks appealing for a lot of people because of the sort of funds it opens up. It opens up for other moves. So, yeah, I think that is definitely feasible. I think with Palace players, the best options include Dean Henderson, but with your setup, it makes more sense to buy one of Lacroix or Daniel Munoz, and you don't need to force anything else or use all 4 of your free transfers. I don't think it's really that necessary. As long as you've got enough to play with to get Saka for Gameweek 37 and maybe a second Arsenal defender or Gyökeres for the Burnley game, that's what I'd really hone in on. So I think what you do here is get 1 or 2 Palace players this week, and yeah, 2 or 3 Arsenal players basically for the Burnley game, and I'd ideally triple that for Game Week 37. So that's my advice to you. Let me know your thoughts and what you're sort of looking at, Item, but I think that's the best course of action for your squad. Thank you very much, Ian. Much appreciated. Pundit of the year. Well, I'm flattered. I mean, yeah. People don't really say good things about pundits anyway, but I'll take it. Semenyo hat-trick. Yeah, I'm not sure if he'd score a hat-trick, but I think he will score. It would not surprise me if he outscored Cherky, by the way. I don't think Saar or Strand Larsen will start. But sorry, I don't think Saar will start the first game. I think Strand Larsen will. Ultimately, in terms of both games in Double Gameweek 36, no, I don't think either will get the 2 starts you want. Cole Plummer, price prediction next season. 9.5 million. Maybe 9. I'd say 9.5. I realize my opponent in my head-to-head leagues has Semenyo as well. Do I still remove and use Tavernier to a cheap to find other moves? I'd stick with what I said originally, to be fair. Best midfielder under 7 million. Yeah, as I mentioned before, apart from Cherky, it's going to be Pascal Gross. But yeah, I'm not sure if the chat is bugging a little bit because I did highlight some of these messages before, but it's not showing me that for some reason. Who to bench, Tavernier, Calvert-Lewin, or Joao Pedro? Probably Calvert-Lewin. Start Tavernier or Joao Pedro? I'd start Joao Pedro. Hill or Lacroix? Lacroix. Play 1, DCL, Joao Pedro, Tavernier, and Hill. It's a very close one, but probably Joao Pedro. Yep, this double game week will either be full of good points or disappointment. I'm hoping it's good points, but somehow City just don't really deliver. I mean, that's asking for a lot. Yeah, Szoboszlai should be on pens in the absence of Salah. I mean, there is McAllister as well. Isak, if he starts, is another contender, but yeah, Szoboszlai is the main penalty taker when there's no Salah. Good day to you as well, Duarte. Gross, Calvert-Lewin, bench 1. I'd bench Calvert-Lewin and start Gross with Joao Pedro. Dylan, start 2 from Saliba, Eze, DCL. I'd start the 2 Arsenal players. Start 1, Joao Pedro, Tavernier, or Gross. Gross. I really want to triple captain O'Reilly or Saka. Well, you got to back your gut there. I think O'Reilly's the better choice this week, and Saka might be the best for Game Week 37. Yeah, O'Reilly triple captain looks appealing to me. He's second in my overall list, even above Cherky and Semenyo, but I'm going for Haaland. Boring old Dylan. Palmer this season just hasn't been himself. You could argue he hasn't been himself for a while now, but yeah. He's a quality player still, but I think the injuries have definitely played a part. Gyökeres instead of Pedro for a -4. I just do it next week for free. Don't take the hit. Start Canva or Calvert-Lewin. Canva. 2 transfers left, Senesi to Saliba, Lacroix, or Semenyo to Cherky, or do both. I'd rather do Senesi to Lacroix and then get Saliba or your Arsenal defenders for 37. Foden might start a game. Yeah, it's possible. That's a good shout, actually. Need a mid priced at 6.5 or under. Pascal Gross. I've talked about him for a while now. Yeah, Fair Mellow, I did go for your question earlier. I definitely went for your team for sure. On the bench, I have Darlow, Dewsbury Hall, Michele, Thiago. Bench boost the triple captain. I triple captain Haaland now and then bench boost in 37, but yeah, it's not a bad bench you've got this week, to be fair. But I'd probably bench boost in 37. Start Dewsbury Hall over Richards? No. I'd captain O'Reilly over Cherky, but that's just my personal take. It's very close between those two. Good to see you as well, Marek. What do you think about 2 free transfers -4? Senesi and Joao Pedro to Lacroix and Gyökeres. Also, would you start DCL or Tavernier? I'd start Tavernier. And for the other one, I wouldn't buy Gyökeres for a hit now. I would do it in 37. The problem is, you'd probably want to keep Joao Pedro by that stage because he's facing Tottenham at home, which is quite appealing for Chelsea attackers, particularly him. So yeah, good question. I'd probably go for it in terms of the -4 hit. I'd lean towards yes, but I just don't see a massive need to sell Joao Pedro for Gyökeres for a hit. Semenyo and Enzo to Saka and Cherky. That looks quite appealing to me. I think that is what I'd lean towards, and then keep Joao Pedro. My mini league this double gaming, they better watch their back because I'm literally coming for their neck. I want to finish top 5. Good luck with that. Yeah, there's plenty of moderators. I mean, Punjabi's one of them. Those highlighted in blue is a moderator. Twisted Park is another one. Verbruggen, Darlow, Gabriel, Senesi, Hill, Van Hecke, Riley, is that Semenyo? Tavernier, Palmer, Aronson, Bruno, Welbeck, Hallen, Pedro, Lacroix, and Gyökeres for Pedro and Senesi, or prioritise second Arsenal defender. I'd prioritise the second Arsenal defender still, but it's a differential play to have Gyökeres and Saka. I'm not completely against it. I think for the Burnley game that looks really enticing, but also thinking about the 2 away games against Palace and West Ham, yeah, I think it's better to have double Arsenal defence. I've had Gay since Game Week 1. Should I transfer him up for O'Reilly? I would do it if you have multiple free transfers at your disposal. Otherwise, it's probably best to just get Palace and Arsenal players instead. Morning, Dylan. 4 free transfers. Got rid of Joao Pedro, Palmer, Semenyo for Saka, Gyökeres, and Cherky. Still got 1 free transfer in hand. Yeah, you don't need to use all of them, so having 2 available moves at 37 is very appealing. I probably won't be in that position. I've got free transfers now, and I'll probably use every single one of them. So, yeah, I like the moves you've made there. You're going for the double Arsenal attack route, which is promising for 37. I'm not a big fan of it against West Ham or Palace, but hopefully I'm proven wrong. Yeah, as covered before, triple captain this week, bench boost next week, but I don't know the context of your team. Maybe your bench looks really good in 36, so that would maybe make you reconsider a little bit, but I'd rather triple captain Haaland now. So yeah, that's all been covered. Big Sam as well says, bench Hill, is that Lewis Miley? Is okay, Dylan, or not -4? So Enzo for Sarr, Van Dijk for Munoz, Haaland triple captain. Yeah, I like it. Just bear in mind that Sarr probably won't start both games in 36. So just making you aware of that. Nice one, Banjo. Good luck to you. Start Bowen or Tavernier. It's a close one. If you don't have double Arsenal defence, I'd start Bowen. Well, technically. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Don't worry. I mean, there's 23 minutes left. We're just under. I'll lock in my squad very soon. But yeah, I've just been answering a lot of questions and I went through a lot of data. Keep or sell these guys. Canvert, Richard, Sarr. Well, you keep them. You've only got 1 free transfer anyway. So, yeah, you have nothing in the bank either. So just keep what you've got and start them. Who should I start? Senesi or Wilson? Very close call, but probably Wilson. Nice, all good, Twisted Parky. I mean, you've been in all the chats, all the live streams recently, so can't ask for much more. Best Crystal Palace asset for this week? I'd say Munoz. Lacroix is a close second. Well, you can bench boost now. It just depends on what chips you have left. If the bench boost is the only one, I'd probably just deploy it now. If you have the triple captain as well, triple captain 36, bench boost 37. I'd probably start Verbruggen, but I mean, based on my predictions, to be fair, I've gone for Arsenal 2-0, and I've gone for Brighton to concede. So the clean sheet odds will tell you a different story. Brighton are second, Arsenal are fourth. But yeah, I think Brighton are more likely, to be fair. I'm just kind of like going for my lucky prediction, if you will. It's a close call. It really is, but I lean towards Verbruggen. Okay, so I'm going to put a poll out, and in terms of this one, Gabriel is the winner. By some distance, by the way, 51%. Lacroix second, Munoz third, and Canvot fourth. So next up is going to be... Let's see if I can make this very clear. Okay, so which of these transfer plans do you prefer? So it means triple Palace and keep Semenyo. Triple Palace. -4 for Saka, Gabriel. Oh. Okay. One Palace. Semenyo to Cherki. Hopefully this is clear, but this is basically what it comes down to for me. So let me just run down what the poll is about. So for Gameweek 36, the plan I outlined in my team selection video is to sell Cucurella, Senesi, and Cole Palmer for Munoz, Lacroix, and Sarr. So that gives me 3 Crystal Palace players. I would keep O'Reilly, Semenyo, and Haaland. I'm going to be triple captaining this week. I've been very consistent on that. And then for 37, to get the Arsenal players in, I can get Gabriel and Saka for a -4, selling Daniel Munoz, and in this case, it would be Semenyo out, but I keep him for the double. The alternative plan is to sell Semenyo to Cherki now and only buy Munoz when it comes to Palace players for 36. And I can buy Saka for Palmer. And then for 37, I would basically have to buy Gabriel for Senesi tonight because Gabriel is going up in price, as I showed you earlier. So that would be the plan. So with this one, where I do Semenyo to Cherki, Palmer to Saka, and Cucurella to Munoz, I would take no hits, but I would have to buy Gabriel for Senesi tonight, otherwise I'm priced out. With the other move, which gives me triple Palace for the double game week, it does mean taking a -4 hit to get 2 Arsenal players in, Gabriel and Saka, for Game Week 37. And to be honest, it's the exact same setup as the other one. It's very similar. The thing is, like, I can't really get a third Arsenal player against Burnley, but Gabriel and Saka would suffice for me, and it would be more than enough, in my opinion. Unless I did something a little bit extra and I got, like, Hincapié or Calafiori for O'Reilly, possibly even Ben White, but I'm not sure if I'd be doing that. But who knows? Never say never. But that's where it ultimately comes down to when it revolves around my transfer plans. But it looks like triple Palace, well, I was going to say is winning. It technically was, but this is a 50-50 vote. It's a very close call. And yeah, I don't think it's a clear-cut answer. If we had more clarity on the Crystal Palace players starting both games in the double, I think it'd be a different story. But yeah, I've answered a lot of these questions already. I mean, there's a lot coming in, but yeah, I'll go through the new ones that I haven't seen yet. Should I start Dewsbury Hall or Senesi? I'd start Senesi. But in this one, I'd start Wilson. I said that earlier. Sydney says, hey Dylan, hope you're well. I'm playing my bench boost. My rank is 44k and I'm pushing for a top 10k finish. Which transfer would you make? Dango to Hinshelwood, Thiago to Welbeck, or Dubravka to Raya? This might sound boring, but my favourite is Dubravka to Raya. Thank you very much, Banjo. Love your channel. Let's go for the World Cup. That's the plan. I mean, there are other commitments as well. But hopefully in early June, I can start recording some World Cup fantasy content. I mean, that would be great. Obviously covered the last World Cup and even the Club World Cup last summer. Arsenal will go full-on offensive from the whistle tomorrow to get the win. I think Arsenal will just play a smart game, similar to how they've done all season. I don't think they'll overcommit, to be fair. I think City, if anything, will be the ones more open and more offensive and stuff. I think Arsenal will be a bit more conservative and not going gung-ho. But maybe against Burnley, it's a different story. Yeah, I'd go for Saka over Gyökeres there. Yeah. Keep or sell these guys. Like I said earlier, always saying I'd keep. But is Saka a great option this week? I wouldn't say Saka's a great option against West Ham, but he's decent. That's why I'm not against buying Sarr now, keeping Semenyo, and then getting Saka for Game Week 37 instead. I'd triple captain Haaland personally, but Cherki's a decent option. Cherki or Doku? I prefer Cherki. Deadline day, close, FPL. Not yet, there's 60 minutes left. Going to the Amex, going to the Amex. Come on, the lads. Yeah, it took me like reading that 2 times to realize you were doing a chant. Okafor, Palmer, Van Dijk, Tassar, Cherki, Munoz for a -4. Yes, is my answer. Best Palace asset, covered earlier. Who should I start? Also covered earlier. Wilson's the answer. Trying to do Palmer to Saka, Semenyo to Cherki, Justin to Munoz, but I'm priced out by 0.1. Would you downgrade someone like Ampadu to fund it? Yeah, I think that works. I'd probably do something like that. You could always buy Lacroix instead of Munoz, to be fair, instead of forcing a hit or using another free transfer. Hey Dylan, would you start Hill or Tavernier? Probably Tavernier. Bench one of Saliba, Gabriel, Lacroix, O'Reilly, Van Heck. Saliba. But yeah, a lot of these questions have been answered earlier. I'm not going to lie to you. Thank you very much, Safar. Cheers, Dylan. Have a great weekend. The same goes to you, Adamak. Is it worth taking a hit for Palace defence? I'd say no. Not for a hit. Start Thiago or Lewin, or sell Calvert-Lewin to Welbeck and Richarlison. I would start Igor Thiago. But yeah, the other move is quite appealing, actually, especially Welbeck. I'm not a big fan of Richarlison, but he's showing something at least in recent weeks. I think Ben White is okay, but in terms of DEFCON, he's not really going to be anywhere near the level of Gabriel Saliba. And yeah, I think with Ben White, there's also the possibility Mosquera comes on, especially if White is struggling against an opposing winger. I'm not particularly looking forward to Somerville facing him. I think White always struggles against pacey wingers like Matoma and Rashford, but yeah, over the past year or so, White has been hampered by injuries, unfortunately. He played well against Atletico Madrid, to be fair. I'll give him credit for that. Best replacements for DCO and Thiago. I still like Bowen for the last 2 game weeks, but I wouldn't buy him now. Mateta for the double could suffice. I don't think he'll start both games, though. You've already tripled up on Palace, though. Fair enough. So, yeah, I think Richarlison, dare I say, could be a decent punt, but I'd rather buy Gyökeres, to be honest with you. Bench boost this week. All the best, Ramnik. Yeah, I think bench boost, get out of the way as soon as possible. Bench 2 of DCL, Thiago, Tavernier, Senesi, Kadioglu, or Gabriel. I would bench DCL, and it's very close between the others, but I think I'd bench... It's between Senesi and Tavernier. I think I'm going to bench Senesi here. Lacroix and Gyökeres in for Joao Pedro and Senesi. Yeah, looks good. Saka and Saliba for Senesi and Palmer, or Rice and Raya for Dubravka and Palmer. Oh dear. They're all solid, but my preference would be Lacroix and Gyökeres. And you can always buy an Arsenal defender, hopefully, for Gemic 37. I wouldn't buy Saka for a hit. Not this week. I would do it in 37, though. Bench Joao Pedro DCL. I'd bench Calvert-Lewin. Is it worth a hit Enzo to Szoboszlai? Not for me. Yeah, we're very close now to the deadline. Best transfer in for Gibbs White, Sarr, Ndai, Eze or Szoboszlai? I'd go for Sarr. I've got City, Brighton tripled up already. Arsenal, Crystal Palace, double already. Yeah, I'd go to Sarr. No, I don't think Sarr will play both games. Saka is the better pick over the next 3 game weeks overall. My plan is maybe to get both of them, actually. 1 Palace and Saka, Gabriel for me. Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, ultimately, I would buy Saka and Gabriel, but it would be for a hit in 37. And I'm not that bullish on Arsenal this week against West Ham, but maybe I'm missing a trick there. Yeah, Enzo should play. You saw my lineups earlier. Feel free to rewind and then go back to this live section. I'd start Sarr for sure. I mean, he's doubling this week. You would get minutes in both matches. Yes, I would take that -4 hit for those 3 transfers. Everything else has been addressed as well. Henderson or Verbruggen. Henderson. Keep Bowen or roll the transfer. Sorry, yeah. So keep Bowen to roll or sell to Welbeck. I'd keep Bowen. Hi, Dylan. Should I do Rodgers, Rice, and Thiago to Gyökeres and Dewsbury Hall on 2 free transfers? I'd probably keep them for now and then do those moves next week in 37. And that's where I'd sell Rodgers. Hill or Senesi? Senesi. Should I do Darlow to Henderson or Palmer to Saka? I'd buy Saka. The fixtures aren't wrong. I'm showing Game Week 37. So the fixtures aren't wrong. These are the ones for 36. I was basically showing context for the poll. So my final transfer plans, just to reiterate, and I'm going to be locking in very soon, is to buy Munoz, Lacroix, and Sarr for Cucurella, Senesi, and Cole Palmer, and then triple up on Palace and Man City. And I can get 2 Arsenal players in 37 with Gabriel and Saka to replace Munoz and Antoine Semenyo. Now, the good thing about this, despite the fact that I'd take a hit for Game Week 37, is that I wouldn't be priced out. There's no risk, and I can just wait to make transfers late on. As opposed to this one, where I would buy Daniel Munoz, and to be fair, if I want to be a bit like safe, I can get Lacroix instead. So that means one Palace player for the double. I buy Cherki for Semenyo, and I get Saka in this week. And then for 37, I can buy Gabriel for Senesi, and I would have the exact funds to do that now. But I would have to do it tonight because it looks like Gabriel will go up in price. And then I can't afford Gabriel, and that would be very painful indeed. So that's why I am leaning towards just buying the Palace players, and then I can sell one or two of them in 37 anyway. Double up on Arsenal, similar structure regardless, and the expected points is higher for both 36 and 37. So yeah, that's why I'll probably stick with my original plan for my team selection, but I will get the Arsenal players in for 37. There's no doubt about that. Gabriel and Saka, but I'm not that bullish on them this week. I think it could be a very tough game against West Ham on Sunday. But yeah, that's the idea at the moment. So I think I'm going to go for it. Let's get the triple Palace in. And looking forward to the disaster that's going to befall us. Yves says, I'm chasing but behind 14 points. Which option is better? A, B, C, or D? No, there's no D. I don't know why I said that. Maybe for Dylan. Semenyo to Cherki. Tavernier to Szoboszlai. That's the first option. Then it's Senesi to Saliba. Tavernier to Casemiro. And then DCL and Senesi to Gyökeres and Danso. I'll be honest, I prefer option A. And Casemiro is a good option, to be fair. I really like him. But I think option A was a close one. I definitely wouldn't go for C, by the way. I just don't like Tottenham defenders or Danso. But yeah, there's a certain charm about B. I mean, ultimately, we're talking about Saliba, so you likely have Gabriel already, and this would be your Arsenal triple up, which is fair enough. I like that more so for Gameweek 37 rather than now. But yeah, I think I'd go for A. Let me know your thoughts there. Thank you very much for the super chat. So let's see what the poll is saying. One Palace and Semenyo to Cherki is winning, but not by much. It's 56%. But yeah, it's a very, very close call. Yes. Don't worry, I always beat the clock when it comes to FPL and UCL fantasy. Basically. Best goalkeeper from now on is David Raya, definitely. Van Hecke or Senesi? Van Hecke this week. No, I don't think Sarr starts both games. Only Henderson, possibly Lacroix and Munoz. The rest is up for debate. Rice or Van Dijk to start? Declan Rice. Yeah, lock your team, guys. Exactly that. Zafir says that works out. Yeah, I think so as well. I think I'm going to get the triple Palace. And if they do get benched, I might be sick. Absolutely sick. But there you go. We'll have it start. No, I don't think so. I didn't notice the fresh haircut. Warn your neighbours to hide their girlfriends before you step out. I think you made this comment before, man. Like a few months ago for my last one. Yeah, I don't have haircuts often, but when I do, you notice. Bench 1, Gross, Krupi Jr. or Senesi? Senesi. I got Saka and Lacroix in. I could get Cherki for Semenyo, although I don't have funding problems. Yeah, I still don't mind that sort of switch, but yeah, Cherki's definitely in better form than Semenyo. I just think the main appeal from that sort of move is to get extra funds for other transfers there as well. Bench 1, DCL, Joao Pedro. I've said this all along, mate. I would bench Calvert-Lewin. I'm having to chase rank, go away from Haaland and O'Reilly captain. Yeah, Cherki's still a decent option. He's third in my list, so I don't think he's a bad one. And I think he starts both in the double, yeah. Start Wilson, Thiago, or Evanilson? Wilson. Would you keep or sell Eze? I'd probably keep him. But yeah, Saka does look a bit more appealing at the moment. No, Havertz doesn't start. I said that. Start one between Tavernier, Enzo Hill. Tavernier. Start Petrovic or Darlow. Petrovic. Joao Pedro better than DCL? I think so. I went for the predicted lineups earlier. I did. But yeah, I don't think most of them will start the majority of the games. I'm now going to lock in my transfers before I forget, so let's do them. So I'm going to buy Sa. I mean, wait, to be fair, I could just avoid Sa entirely, get Munoz and Lacroix, and have Saka. I mean, I could just do that and skip Sa entirely. If I go back to that plan very quickly, this is the other one. So for this plan, I could have Saka now. And then for 37, what would really change? I wouldn't have to take a -4 hit. So that would be... All right. Yeah, to get Gabriel in, I still would need to sell Semenyo. And then that's where I could go to a different budget midfielder. Yeah, okay. It's just worth sort of thinking all of this through, but I've done that plenty throughout the week. I don't want to overthink this now. But yeah. I'm going to stick with my original team selection plan. So I'll get the 2 Arsenal players for a -4 hit in 37. And this week, I'll be tripling up on Crystal Palace. So Lacroix, Munoz, and Ismaila Sarr. Hopefully Sarr can do the business. I'm hoping for the best there. 4.1 million in the bank, by the way. So Senesi, Cucurella, and Palmer out for Lacroix, Munoz, and Ismaila Sarr. So there we go. I'm going all in on Palace. We'll see how that goes. And let's actually start these players. So Munoz will come in for Calvert-Lewin. In terms of the bench order, maybe Calvert-Lewin over Hill. He was third on my bench last time. We know how that turned out. The less said, the better. There could be some bench points as well, by the way. But yeah, triple captain. Haaland, O'Reilly, Weiss. And then, yeah, the rest is pretty much self-explanatory. Triple Brighton, triple Palace, triple City, Bruno Fernandes, and Joao Pedro. So all my eggs are on 3 baskets, really. So I'm going to end this poll. I went for the least popular option, if you will. Yes, it's a slightly bold move, triple Crystal Palace, but yeah, just to maximize the double, I guess. And I do like Munoz and Lacroix for the double. There's a possibility that they don't even start. Thank you very much, Freddie Barker. Much appreciated. And all the best for Game Week 36. I wouldn't sell Bones Yockers for a hit, no. Let's do one last poll. You know I love my polls. We've got an election coming up in the UK, just saying. So which player would you start? Let's go for Joao Pedro, Tavernier, Calvert-Lewin, and Hill. So let's see what you say. There's less than 2 minutes left. We're very close to the end now. Good luck, Dylan. I only had the balls to go for 1 Palace player. Understandable. I think that might be the logical choice anyway. But yeah, I like Lacroix for DEFCON. Hopefully he can get me 5-6 points. Munoz with an attack and return would be great. And the same goes for Sarr. So just hoping for the best there. I think Mateta could be quite good for this, but I don't expect him to start both. Yeah, I think Lacroix Munoz will start both, but it's not a guarantee. I prefer Joao Pedro over Van Dijk. I said that earlier. Bench Tavernier or Calvert-Lewin. I personally would bench Calvert-Lewin, but we'll see what the poll says as well. I mean, they're both on my bench anyway. Joao Pedro is leading the vote. It's quite a balanced poll, though. Calvert-Lewin is second, oddly enough. And yeah, he was above Tavernier as well. That's not a bad shout. But yeah, that's my my squad. Triple captain active. Make sure to activate the triple captain. So in my case, it is active. It's confirmed. My starting 11 as well. All my Palace and City players are there. I mean, the bench order is definitely debatable, but that's it. We are done here. Joao Pedro almost half of the votes. Calvert-Lewin is second. He's actually second on my bench, not first. But yeah, Hill, he's last for me. But that's it. We are locked in. Triple captain Haaland is ready to go. Verbruggen, Van Heck, Lacroix, O'Reilly, Munoz, Gross, Sarr, Semenyo, Bruno Fernandes, Joao Pedro, and yes, Erling Haaland as my triple captain. Darlow, Tavernier, Calvert-Lewin, and Hill on my bench. Hopefully, well, they don't haul too much. Hi Dylan, my preference is Lacroix and Victor Gyökeres, but then can afford a second Arsenal defender next week. What about Sarr for Palmer, Saliba for Senesi, and next week Gyökeres for Pedro or Saka? I prefer Saka over Gyökeres, and it also allows you to keep Joao Pedro. Man, I joke about the haircut, you notice. Yeah. Bench one, DCL, Joao Pedro, or Tavernier. I would probably bench Calvert-Lewin. Would you do DCL up for Welbeck? I don't mind it for this week, but I'm not a massive fan of Welbeck in general, and the minutes aren't that secure anyway. So yeah, I think I'd probably just keep what you've got. I'll probably go with A and buy an Arsenal defender in 37 and Casemiro in 38. Yeah, it looks good. I kind of regret not going for Casemiro on the free hit. That would have been very important in 34. -4 Chow to Lacroix to bench Thiago. Not sure if I'd do it for a hit, but Lacroix is decent. I think he'll get something in the double. Probably from Defcon. I probably wouldn't do it. Start Gabriel Richards. Richards, just about. Would you sell Chow for Van Heck, Kadioglu, Canvot, Richards? Yeah, to a Palace defender. Probably Canvot. I would sell Havertz. Apart from Gyökeres, Mateta for the double. I like Bone for the last 2 gameweeks, but I wouldn't buy him now. Pick free to play. Justin, Senesi, Tavernier, Joao Pedro, DCL. Yeah, I would have played Joao Pedro, Senesi, and Tavernier. But very close one. Black Shadow says start 2, Thiago, Garner, Michele, Bowen, Wilson. That's a really tough one, but Wilson and Thiago. Yeah, hopefully the Crystal Palace players start. Yeah, I don't think Sarr will start the next game, by the way. I'm well aware of that, but 30 minutes in the first game, starts against City. Hopefully he produces a big haul. All the best, Wei Seng. What I'm going to do here is show you FPL Challenge. So I got Verbruggen, Gabriel, Bruno Fernandes, Szoboszlai, Gross, and Haaland as my captain. This week it is called the Playmaker, so all assists are worth 10 points. And I'm going to go through my scoreline predictions and stuff like that. So Liverpool 2, Chelsea 1, Brighton 3, Wolves 1, Fulham 2, Bournemouth 2, Sunderland 0, Man United 2, Man City 2, Brentford 0, Burnley 1, Aston Villa 2, a 1-1 draw between Crystal Palace and Everton, Nottingham Forest 1, Newcastle 0, West Ham 0, Arsenal 2, Tottenham 2, Leeds 1, and Man City 3, Crystal Palace 1. So these are my scoreline predictions. Yeah, I just went through that. Team weakness, I'm going to go for the obvious choice here. The best triple captaincy option remaining from now until the end of the season. Haaland. I've got a mask, by the way. I might use it, especially if Arsenal win the league, but that's another story. With the clean sheet odds, Man City are top. Brighton, Aston Villa, Arsenal, Crystal Palace and Tottenham complete the top 6, whilst Brentford languish in bottom spot. These stats are taken by the website fantasyfootballpundit.com. And with the top 10 captains, Haaland is top, with O'Reilly, Cherky, Semenyo and Munoz in the top 5. Bruno Fernandes is arguably too high in 6th, with Mateta, Doku, Matheus Nunes and Ismaila Sarr completing the top 10. So a lot of people asked me about predicted lineups. I went through them earlier, but just to go through them one last time, this is my prediction for Arsenal. My biggest concern is probably on the left-hand side. It could be Calafiori over Piero Hincapié, and Trossard versus Martinelli is another one, but could go either way. But I think this is Arsenal's first choice starting 11, considering those available. For Aston Villa, Tammy Abraham could certainly start, but I think Watkins will get the nod here, and we could see more rotation from the villains, especially in Game Week 38 when they face Man City. For Bournemouth, Smith will start right back. Jimenez will probably not feature again this season, and I think the rest is kind of self-explanatory, to be fair. Scott did go down in price overnight. And for Brentford, a shift to a back 5 is possible against Man City, and that's where Dango Ouattara could drop out from the starting 11. With Brighton Hove Albion, Boskagli versus Dunk is a difficult one, but I've gone for Dunk. I think they'll make several changes after their 3-1 loss against Newcastle. Even Ayari could take the spot of Belieber, and Vifa might not be available here, so Veltman should start at right back. With Burnley, I think Hannibal Mjebri could start in central midfield alongside Ward-Prowse, and the rest is what we saw last time out from Burnley. Moving on to Chelsea, Colwill could start in central defence here alongside Chalobah, and Reece James is back, but I think Gusto will get the nod at right back, and we could see something like this with João Pedro on the left and the Lap up front. With Crystal Palace, this is one of the most popular topics this week, but I think Palace will have the likes of Henderson, Lacroix and Munoz start both games in the double. I couldn't guarantee it, though, with any of the outfield players. I think Canvert's another one who could start both games in Double Gameweek 36, but I wouldn't say the same about the rest. So against Man City, that's where I think Sarr and Mateta could start. But against Everton, I think they'll be benched. Let's see what happens there. With Everton, I think they'll go for an identical lineup that got the 3-3 draw against Man City, with one key change out front in Tieno Barry, who scored a brace on Monday night. Moving on to Fulham, I think King could start over Smith Rowe, and the rest is probably what you would sort of predict. It's quite stable in their trip to, well, in their home visit. Yeah, well, you know the drill. Their home game against Bournemouth. Bloody hell, Dylan. For Leeds United, I think Strout will start despite the yellow flag, but Goodmanson is unavailable, and Okafor will miss the next 2 games, so we could see this starting 11. I think Stack is a very underrated pick. I talked about him a lot, by the way, before Game Week 35, and he did get that goal against Burnley. With Liverpool, I think Kirkes will start left back, Jones on the right, Frimpong pushed further forward, with Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai all playing together, and Gakpo up front, and Florian Wirtz on the left-hand side. With Man City, their starting 11 is relatively stable. The only concern is in the midfield. So O'Reilly could play there alongside Bernardo Silva. There's also Kovacic and maybe Reinders, but I think for the first game, O'Reilly left back and Gonzalez. And for the second game, we could see Nuri finally start and O'Reilly would play further forward. With Manchester United, Lisandro Martinez should start alongside Maguire. I think Mbeumo would lead the line, with Dorgu, Fernandes and Cunha as the front four. But let's see if Sesko is available and ready to start. Moving on to Newcastle, Dan Burn at left back once again, no Lewis Hall and no Voltemada after Osula scored in the 3-1 win over... yeah, Jesus, my brain is all over the place right now. Sorry about that. But yeah, it's really early, by the way. It's bloody early. That 3-1 win over Brighton, of course. I thought Voltemada would get some minutes there at the very least, but he didn't. I mean, I don't know what Eddie Howe is thinking of at the moment, but it is what it is. I think the rest is kind of what you would expect. Now, with Nottingham Forest, I don't think Gibbs White will start, and we could see Dominguez on the left, but I've gone for Hutchinson and then Bakwa on the right-hand side, with Igor Jesus leading the line alongside Awani. Sunderland will likely go for Gertruida at right back and then Trey Hume further forward. That would push Mukiele into a centre-back position, but that could also be interchanged, by the way, between him and the Dutchman. With the last couple of teams, that includes Tottenham Hotspur, Richarlison up front. He's attracting quite a lot of FPL interest, and I think they'll go for the same lineup that got the win against Wolves. And I still think West Ham won't make many changes, but there is the possibility after their 3-0 loss against Brentford, and I think Bowen is still their best asset, and they are facing Arsenal tomorrow, which is a massive game. The final team is Wolves, and there are a few sort of, I'd say, open-ended discussions here. So Rodrigo Gomez could play right wing-back, but I think he could play further forward here with Mane and Armstrong. If they decide to play Rodrigo Gomez right wing-back or he's not in the lineup at all, we could see Tolu up front with Armstrong and Mane alongside him. So there you go. Hopefully that was very helpful to you. Drop a like on the stream as well, subscribe, all that good stuff. We are closing in on a new goal in 39,000 subscribers. And yeah, thank you to those that have supported the channel all season, not just VCL Fantasy, but also FPL. And I did cover the Club World Cup last summer. If you want to see the World Cup also on this channel, then show support to the channel as well. It would be greatly appreciated. So let's get the likes up. Thank you to those that have done so. And we are getting ever closer towards that new milestone. I think we're around 20 away. So by the next week or so, definitely by the end of the season, we will reach 39,000. And be sure to join the Discord server. There's also my Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, Dylan RCM, and there are many other platforms as well to have a look at. That includes my Spotify. Leave a 5-star review. I'll also go a long way. But yeah, I am going to call it a day, I think, with this one. And have a rest. It's been a very long week, to say the least. Yeah, I went for FPL Challenge already. Nothing has changed from my team selection. GG as well. Haaland, can you give me some? How about no? 2 Palace defenders, especially you triple captaining Haaland. There's also another game, mate. Everton at home. Sell DCL to Welbeck. Not for me. I mean, for a 1-week punt, it's fine. It's just not really necessary. Joao Pedro or Thiago? Joao Pedro. Yep, team lockdown. 2 weeks to go. Yes, no more time here, of course. You can't make any changes. I'm well aware of that. And I think everyone else knows too. They should. Palace will be sleepy today. They could be, but surely not as sleepy as I am. Good luck with Palace. Yes, and hopefully bad luck to City. What? Who said that? Green incoming. Yeah, 3 more green arrows. I mean, that's the aim. And I think triple captain Haaland will be very important for that. When with Cherki as my triple captain, I'll definitely get Saka next time. Yeah, same. And Gabriel. No need to rush the moves tonight, so I can wait based on the transfers I've made now. Well, easy. To be honest, we'll see what happens, but Lacroix can get DEFCON. Munoz can still score or assist. It's not all about the clean sheets, and I said this before with Palace. I think from the last 4 games they have, I think 1 clean sheet, maybe 2 out of push, but I'm signing them for DEFCON and different reasons, and they can still get something. I'd be surprised if they all blanked across both games, but never say never. I'll bring in 2 Arsenal for a hit next week. Same here. Okay, I've gone for Saliba and Sarr in Palmer and Senesi next week. Gyökeres for Pedro and Saka for Semenyo. Yeah, I've got a similar transfer plan. I'm not going to sell Joao Pedro for Gyökeres, though. I don't have the facilities for that, big man. But the rest looks pretty good. And I think double Arsenal attack works well for 37. Not sure about that one, Banjo. Steady on, chap. Chasing 60 to 70 points and 2 extra free transfers. Should I go with differential captain or differential players? I'd say differential players. And the deadline has passed, but that's where Sarr would come into play. Saka, maybe Gyökeres. I'd also say Canva or Daniel Munoz. I mean, they still have relatively low ownership. Yeah, triple Palace. That is the plan. It's also thinking about 37 and the funds and just the way things would look like for Arsenal's game against Burnley. So yeah, similar setup regardless, and I wanted to get more fixtures and optimize 36, the last double of the season. My other option is keep Pedro next week and sell Welbeck. I'd do that instead and keep Joao Pedro. Kiddo says current bench boost team. Well, it is your team now. We are locked, but looks good. Not a massive fan of Calvert-Lewin this week, but he can still do something against Tottenham. Yeah, in a good place there. You've got triple Palace defense. I mean, I've got a double up, so yeah. I'm not that optimistic, but they can get DEFCON. With Dean Henderson, yeah, a cliche is definitely needed. Sofia also has a pretty solid squad for Bruggen in there. Hopefully Brian keep the clean sheet. Sanchez on the bench. Anderson first sub, Thiago Mukiele. Yeah, Thiago is a bit of an awkward one. Same with Bowen. I mean, they can both do something this week, but I agree with your starting 11. And Casemiro is a brilliant choice, by the way. I might keep Joao Pedro for Tottenham and go Thiago to Gyökeres. Yeah, Brentford's fixtures are quite poor. They're actually at the bottom of the FDR, and I do like Joao Pedro's prospects against Tottenham. Dylan's still saying it's early. Him being here for 2 hours, I bet time is moving. I'm thinking it's already morning in your country. Well, it's 11 a.m. now, but it's just waking up at 7:30 after, leaving the office at 9 p.m. Yeah, it's kind of a mad one, but it is what it is. Have a great weekend as well, Sophia. Hope to see you at the parade, Dylan. I might not be able to, because I don't know what Arsenal are doing, but basically, if Arsenal have something to celebrate, which hopefully they do, on 2 fronts, the parade would be the day after the Champions League final. I can't make it back for that. So yeah, it's ridiculous. Hopefully they rearrange it and we can see that on the Monday. Yeah, it's crazy on the Real Madrid fights. I mean, Valverde sent to hospital. It's just bizarre stuff, really. A lot of leaks and things happening in the Real Madrid camp as well. It's crazy times, but they have to sort that out. And yeah, they need to get another manager in my opinion. But Arbeloa has come into a very sticky situation, and that's why I always sympathise with Xabi Alonso. He is a good coach. It just is a toxic place at the moment. Hinchelwood versus Gross. I prefer Gross still. Yeah, Rudiger versus Carreras. Pay-per-view exclusive. Yeah, but it's football, not WWE. But if you would choose one, Saka for Semenyo, 2 Gyökeres for Welbeck, or 3 Gyökeres for Pedro, it'd be Gyökeres for Welbeck, I think, yeah. But let's see how Semenyo does in this double. I might regret not going for Cherki and the first transfer plans I talked about. In this poll, Joao Pedro got 40% of the vote, Tavernier second with 24%, Calvert-Lewin third, and Hill last. That's basically how I ordered my bench, so the community agrees, only just. Yeah, and I got in at like 10-ish. Yeah, it's flexible hours, but yeah, it was a long day, but a very good one. 2 cups for Arsenal sounds bonkers. It's possible, but it's going to be difficult. I mean, PSG are the favourites for the final, even though technically, according to Opta stats, Arsenal are like 56% or something like that favourites. Don't ask me why. Green arrow is what we need in this double game week. Yeah, it would be quite disheartening if you don't get the green arrow. This is one of the last opportunities to get a significant rank rise, and we've got to make the most of it. I went to bed at 4, finishing my predictions, and got up at 9:30. Done this all week. Better sleep tonight. Yeah, and oddly enough, I was also doing a lot of graphics like for the stream, like the predicted lineups, and that's why I was basically finishing everything off at like 12, 1 a.m. and obviously woke up at 7, so yeah, I need some sleep. Did you manage to get tickets for Budapest? Yeah, I'm going to the game. It's going to be a mad one, and hopefully Arsenal can make it a very special night. Who would is it win in a wrestling match? Man City players versus Real Madrid. Not sure about that one. So yeah, maybe Man City. Arsenal versus Liverpool. I think Arsenal. I mean, Arsenal are one of the biggest teams in general. And then Man United versus Chelsea. Yeah, that one's a bit of another. Yeah, maybe Man United. Not so sure about that one. Possibly, yeah. I think Man United. Maybe someone else will have a different opinion. PSG going to the Champions League final twice, unlikely. Oh, hopefully not. Arsenal to save football from the all clubs. Come on both fronts. Mbappe to Madrid. Mbappe go trophyless. He's still a quality player though, and he'll likely finish the top scorer of the Champions League. He's got 15 goals. Yeah, it's kind of mad though. It's a bit like Ibrahimovic back in the day, where he would leave a club and then join a Champions League winner, and then the team he left ends up winning it. It's a very similar story there. Thank you, Sofair. Enjoy the day out, Dylan. Hopefully end up as champions. Fingers crossed. I mean, that would be an insane end. But first and foremost, the Premier League is the focus. Win that and the pressure's off in the final, and I think that will bode well for Arsenal for that one-off game. No, you're going Budapest. What about the deadline stream? Yeah, that's the only sort of downside to it. Maybe, I don't want to make promises, but hopefully I can do like an early deadline stream. But yeah, because of the going to the game, yeah, I can't do the deadline stream at the usual time. That's the only bad thing about it. But if Arsenal can win and make it a special weekend, special night, yeah, I'll be buzzing. And yeah, that'll be like the first UCL Fantasy deadline stream I've missed in years, to be honest. But hopefully I can make something work, even like an earlier one, the night before or a few hours before. That would be, yeah, like making the best of a bad situation in terms of the deadline stream. Yeah, I covered that already easy. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it should never happen. Mbappe to the Gunners, that's not going to happen. I can promise you that now. And is it even good for Arsenal in terms of the morale and stuff and also the team balance? I mean, don't get me wrong. I take Mbappe all day long. But yeah, football's not that simple sometimes. Yeah, possibly. We'll see. If I can make it possible, then I will have it done. But I just can't do it at the usual time. But I'll talk more about this in due course. There will still be the best team and the team selection video. I'll do my very best to make that possible. But yeah, thanks everyone. It's been a blast talking to all of you for the past couple of hours. It's been an early one. this time out. And yeah, the deadline is over. And we've only got 2 left for the Premier League and 1 more for the Champions League final, of course. And yeah, expect all the videos and usual live streams for FPL. And for UCL Fantasy, the best squad for Matchday 17 and my team selection will be headed your way in due course. If you haven't done so already, like this stream and also subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a single upload or live stream. Comment, share, subscribe, and also click the hype button on YouTube. That is really much appreciated. The same goes for my Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Follow me on those platforms. DylanRCM. There's my Discord server, the FPL and FPL Challenge Leagues. Be sure to join them. And also my Spotify. Leave a 5-star review on that platform and follow me on Spotify as well. And if you want to become a patron or channel member, you get early access to my videos, proud to comments, and many other perks. So click the join button on YouTube or go to patreon.com/FPL Dylan. I'll see you very soon for more Game Week 37 content, and in a couple of weeks' time, there will be the Champions League final between Arsenal and Paris Saint-Germain, and I'll be doing those 2 videos I mentioned earlier. Take care, enjoy the football. I wish you all the best of luck for the rest of the season. Let's get those green arrows, win our mini leagues, and rise up the rankings.